across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening, good afternoon, in fact, and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you for 3 thrilling hours of news, views, and topical debate. Get involved, get stuck in, get it off your chest, get on the phone, and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. That's 0344 499 1000. It is Monday, March the 9th. Here's what's coming up. 10 days into all-out war in the oil-rich Middle East, and our powerhouse leader, inaction man Keir Starmer, warns us that it might affect Britain's economy. Wow! Really, Prime Minister? Who knew? Thanks for the info. Meanwhile, Two-Tier makes a desperate call to Donald Trump, labouring under the delusion that the special relationship he just wrecked can be saved. Tony Blair blasts Starmer for not showing up in our oldest ally's hour of need. The Cypriot government fumes over Britain's failure to protect its air bases from Iranian missiles. And if the UK's flagship aircraft carrier does ever head to the Mediterranean, even though Trump contemptuously insists he's no longer interested, it may have to be protected by French warships, because we haven't got any. Isn't that special? 0344 499 1000. And over the weekend, our colleagues at Lefty Sky News were reporting that HMS Dragon could be ready to set sail for Cyprus, and I quote, by as early as Tuesday. As early as? It's a week since Starmer finally realised that just maybe the 100,000 plus British citizens and military personnel on Cyprus might need protecting. But Dragon is still in Portsmouth Harbour. A triumph for the nation, or an embarrassing shambles? You decide. 0344 499 1000. In other news, after a bumper 816 migrants crossed the channel illegally last week, a reminder why each and every one of them won't be going home anytime soon. Brace yourselves for the astonishing story of the Bangladeshi migrant who broke into Britain unlawfully in 1998, and despite having his asylum claim refused, is still here 28 years later, still appealing against his rejection and still not facing deportation, which pretty much sums up the migrant crisis and the abject failure of the authorities to do a single meaningful thing about it. 0344 499 1000. And finally, the emails alleged to prove once and for all that Princesses Bea and Eugenie were on the take as much as their pariah parents Andy and Fergie, and the end of the road for the Netflix connection as Meghan goes it alone with her as ever domestic products business, slamming the streamer for being too cautious over her plans to go global. Global dried flowers and candles. Good luck with that, Ms. Markle. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday afternoon together. We've got a lot to get through. Let's go straight over to my first guest, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum, Philip Kisley. Hello, Philip.
Hi, Kev. It's great to see you.
Good to have you starting the entire week for us, and we have to look back on a weekend of shambles, a weekend of chaos, during which Donald Trump humiliatingly gave the message that he wasn't interested in Keir Starmer's tardy announcement that he might send our aircraft carrier, the Prince of Wales, to the Mediterranean. It wasn't needed anyway. It smacked very much, in my view, of Starmer, an OTT reaction by Starmer to try to prove in retrospect, oh, Donald, special relationship, we still are your special ally. Donald Trump saying, not very interested in allies that join us in a war that we've already won. Too late, too little too late. Meanwhile, Tony Blair goes to an event hosted by the Jewish News, supposed to be off record, but he's not denying he said it. In fact, I know people who were there and he did say this. He absolutely tore into Keir Starmer, his Labour successor as Prime Minister, a man he professed not so long ago to have quite a close relationship. He said, look, you know, when your nation's defence is integrally tied up in its relationship with America, when America needs you, you better show up, just as he did during the Gulf War. You've got to show up. So the problem with Starmer not showing up by refusing to let Donald Trump use our air bases until changing his mind, and now they're being used, but it took too long. The problem with that is that down the line, and it may come sooner rather than later with the tenuous state of the world right now, we are going to need America to defend us, to help to defend us. Yeah. And what are they going to say? Well, where were you when we launched war against Iran? I know, refusing to let us use your air bases. So no, thank you, we won't protect you. That is an abrogation of duty on the part of our Prime Minister, because, as I say, for better or for worse, America, we absolutely need America in terms of the defence of this nation and of the defence of the citizens of this country. Are they going to be there for us now? I doubt it. That's Starmer's fault. He's let the country down. He's let the nation down.
Yeah, and this was precisely what I was saying last week, actually. I think on this show, I was saying that, you know, there is going to come a time when we desperately need them, and we are becoming weaker and weaker and weaker on the world stage. I mean, the problem is that Starmer has turned this into a soap opera, and the one person you don't want to turn a big, important world event into a media circus with is Donald Trump, because he really knows what he's doing when it comes to this kind of thing. And Starmer is a walking robot, as we know. So this is just catastrophic on every single level for Starmer, but it's what we expect, isn't it? Time and time again. You know, we're on a war footing, but apparently we don't have any gas. We don't have any fuel to see us through more than a couple of days. Apparently that's the story now. Now, that isn't just about being at war. That is a broader narrative, Kev, about this government being completely and utterly irresponsible when it comes to planning, when it comes to looking into the future. It's exactly the same thing, isn't it? You know, you're dealing with Donald Trump. You know, he can be a bit difficult to deal with sometimes, so you do have to be nice to him, you know. But also, this is, you know, practical stuff about running the country. And they've been so obsessed about net zero. They've been so obsessed about, you know, the virtue signaling around the green lobby. They've been so obsessed with appeasing their backbenchers that they haven't actually looked about what we need. And, you know, the ultimate massive, devastating irony is that we are sat on millions and millions of barrels of North Sea oil. We just don't have any access to it. It's ludicrous on every single level, Kev.
And too little too late. The Prime Minister was desperately playing catch-up, trying to, I guess, mend the special relationship that he's absolutely wrecked. It is in the toilet thanks to him. I mean, the ultimate irony being that after he refused, you know, at the behest of Ed Miliband and all the other left-wing superannuated student activists in the cabinet, after he refused to let America and Trump use our air bases, you know, several hours later he changed his mind. Well, actually about a couple of days later he changed his mind and said, oh, you can use it for defensive purposes only if you're attacking Iranian missile storage units, which Pete Hegseth, the defence secretary in America, immediately dismissed and said, well, we got the go-ahead, took too long, too late, but we've got it now, and now we will be launching from British airbase full-scale attacks on Iran. So Starmer's prevarication was totally unnecessary because he changed his mind, and B, the damage is done. He's ruined our special relationship, and now it's hard to see how we are capable of defending ourselves, given the state of our armed forces, our very depleted armed forces. This is Steve Reid, Cabinet Minister Steve Reid, on Starmer's desperate catch-up phone call with Trump over the weekend. This was Reid on Sky News.
Donald Trump is still pretty furious, it's clear, with Keir Starmer for not backing him from the start. Is the relationship recoverable?
Of course it is. I mean, the relationship between the UK and the US is deep and it's abiding, and the leaders of the two countries don't always agree on absolutely everything. But there was a call last night, I understand, between the President and the Prime Minister. It was very constructive, as you would expect. And although the UK did not take part in the initial strikes, because we didn't see there was a legal basis for the UK to be involved at that stage, when Iran responded with reckless attacks on other countries in the Middle East, then as allies of those countries, we have come to their defence.
Will these people, please, Philip, stop talking about the law and legality? Was it legal? This is war. People are firing missiles at each other, dropping drone bombs. People are dying out there, and we've got a government talking about the law. Is this legal? What kind of strikes are we allowed to undertake? It's pathetic. It is pathetic. You know, Keir Starmer, never mind action man, this is inaction man. It's embarrassing for this nation, isn't it?
It really is. It's kind of cognitive dissonance, isn't it, in a way? You know, we're talking about two things here, Kevin. I think they're both linked. One is we're talking about war, for God's sake, as you've just said, and you need to think about it in those gargantuan terms. This is life-changing, life-threatening stuff. Maybe not for us, but over there in the Middle East and in Europe, because this will filter through to Europe. We've already seen Cyprus. So it's war, and we've got to take it seriously. We've got to understand it for what it is and the potentialities. But the other thing as well, this is about personal relationships, and Donald Trump takes all of this stuff very, very personally. And I think we are perilously close to the point of no return with the relationship between himself and Starmer. And it makes us look so inconsequential, because we have this stuttering buffoon who is just doing U-turn after U-turn. We're well familiar with this kind of stuff at home. This is what we talk about every week. But now we are seeing, the world is seeing this kind of inability to make a decision, to say one thing one day and another thing the next day. So it's also about confidence. It's about war. It's about personal relationships, but it's about confidence. And we know that the United States has no confidence in us, and that's a very dangerous place for us to be. We need to be there for them, and we need to come across as being competent as well, you know, and we're not coming across as being competent. We're coming across as being a joke, and this is the problem for us. You know, I mean, we're looking about, you know, the defense of Europe here now. This is the narrative that's playing into this now, the defense of Europe. Okay, already France have gone from 1 warship to 2 warships to 8 warships now. And ours, you know, Dragon, you know, the head of our fleet, is still being welded. They're welding it.
Let me pick you up on that, because I mentioned Sky News earlier. They were reporting over the weekend. My jaw dropped when I heard them. So keen were they to be pro-Starmer. They actually were reporting yesterday, HMS Dragon could be ready to set sail to the Mediterranean by as early as Tuesday. I mean, he ordered it literally 7 days ago. And Sky News seem to think it's quite a feat for it to be ready potentially 8 days later. It probably won't be, by the way. And we've just learnt that after Donald Trump said, look, thanks for offering us your aircraft carrier, the Prince of Wales, Starmer, as he actually said, Prime Minister Starmer, but thanks but no thanks. It's too late now. We're not interested in allies who get into wars after we've already won them. So we are now not going to send our aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean and the Gulf. So that's that. And the idea that somehow or other, you know, this, as Steve Reed was pathetically maintaining, the special relationship is as strong as ever. It's just for the birds. I'm afraid that our Prime Minister, who at one point they used to call the Trump whisperer because he was so brilliant at keeping Donald on side, has wrecked the special arrangement with his prevarication, his failure to help our ally in its hour of need. It's down the Swanee, and who knows if it can ever be repaired.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a relationship now, but it's not special. You know, it's a destructive relationship, I think, and it's framed around humiliation now. And unfortunately, it's our humiliation, and that humiliation is going to turn into a kind, over the years, it's going to turn into a kind of peril, because as we're seeing geopolitics frame itself for the 21st century, this is about big beasts, big power. It really isn't about democracy anymore that we fought for post 1945. This is, you know, we are going to need America because we are reduced. We have been humiliated on the world stage. And I keep coming back to this kind of vulnerability that we have. I suppose the only light at the end of the tunnel on the horizon is that Starmer really isn't going to be there for long. Then, of course, we have the fallout of what the hell happens with the Labour Party. But if we're looking into the future, we have to be looking to someone like Nigel Farage, and he has to be the person who will not only save the relationship, but make it special again. Because at the moment, it's a destructive relationship, and probably rightly so as far as Trump's concerned, because we have let down our allies. We just weren't there for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what doesn't help. We seem to have so many people in positions of power now and authority who've just been sucked into the new British way, you know, the new uselessness of modern Britain. So you've got the head of Chief of Defence Staff, Air Marshal Sir Richard Knighton, bitterly rejecting criticism of the lethargy with which this nation was getting ready for this inevitable conflict in the Middle East, actually praising staff working night and day to get HMS Dragon ready, and saying that, in fact, you know, military planners have been working to prepare for such a crisis over many years, and so on and so forth. Well, you know, Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton, this is exactly what's wrong with this nation. This complacency about clear hopelessness. This is hopeless. You know, we have a ship that was ordered to go and protect our citizens, 100,000 or more, on the island of Cyprus last Monday, 7 days ago. It isn't even ready to leave Portsmouth Harbour yet. And we have the Chief of the Defence Staff hailing and what a wonderful job everyone is doing. No, Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton, the job that your people are doing, that this government are doing, is palpably pathetic. It is pathetic.
It's a celebration of failure, isn't it? And we see this right across the board. We see this right across the political Westminster elite class. But beneath it, actually, I get the impression that they don't know what the hell to do. Right? Because they've never been in this kind of situation before. They've never had any real experience of doing anything that is actually meaningful, these people, because they've gone straight from their ridiculous university degrees to their kind of researcher posts, and then straight into party positions, and then parachute.
Well, let me just, I agree with you totally, Philip, but let me just read you our friend Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton's quote about this. It's just extraordinary. He said, I'm enormously proud. This is about HMS Dragon, still sort of rusting up in its dock in Portsmouth Harbour, where at one point last week, it had scaffolding all over the funnel, apparently, when it was supposed to be en route to Cyprus. But this is what he said: I'm enormously proud of the work of the Royal Navy. They've been working night and day to get that ship ready, get the ammunition on board, get the stores on board, and bring it out of its maintenance state so it's ready to go within the next few days. Sir Richard, get another job. This is nothing to be proud of. This is something to be extremely ashamed of. We learned on Friday that actually it looks as if the staff who work in that dock where HMS Dragon is are on a 9 to 5 strict working routine. So therefore they're not working round the clock. They're working 9 to 5. It's taken 8 days and the damn boat isn't ready. And we've got a Chief of Defence Staff who thinks this is praiseworthy, that this is a triumph. Honestly, no wonder we are failing as a nation.
This is the culture, though, isn't it? If you've got any experience of, the institutions, if you've got any experience of how local government, how the universities, how any of this stuff works, this is what happens all the time. This is what happens up and down the country. It's just being transposed to government and the military. It's a failure of. Well, there was a story last week about you weren't allowed to use words in job applications like success and ambition. Do you remember? Because they were framed as being masculine, poisonously masculine, and that's the situation we're in.
Yeah.
We have a government, we have military forces who are afraid of being poisonously masculine. Now, if there's one time that you need a bit of masculinity here, you need to be fairly aggressive. You need to stand up for yourself, your country. It's this particular time. So this is what I say when they don't know what they're doing. They've got no experience of actually doing their jobs. They're just going through the motions, patting each other on the backs, and it's the same throughout the country. This is why nothing works, Kev. It's ridiculous. But the problem is it goes from being ridiculous to being frightening when you put it on a war footing and you send it into the crazy Middle East.
And of course, the last point to make, Philip, is that this was all geared to old pacifist Red Ed Miliband demanding of the Prime Minister that we don't get involved. Yep. We have to send the message to the Muslim vote that we are not involved in these attacks on Iran. So it's all domestic politics. But of course, this idea, this delusion that this cabinet allowed themselves to be seduced by, that somehow or other, just by saying we haven't let America use our air bases and we're not involved, that somehow this massive conflict in the Middle East, the oil-rich great supplier of fuel to the world, that somehow or other, that by saying we're not letting the states use our airstrips and we're not involved, we're not shooting missiles at Iran, that we would not be involved, that Britain would be excused boots, as they say, excused duties here. It's absolute delusion, childish.
Yeah, it really is. It's almost like saying, look, please don't notice us. Just ignore us, and hopefully it'll all go away. But I think the point you've just made about pacifism and the Muslim vote, I think is just so important, Kev. And let me just linger on it for 1 second. You've already made it, but they think they have the Muslim vote, so they're being very, very careful about what they say and what they do, and they are actually beginning. They're hesitating when it comes to taking on our national enemies. But they don't have the Muslim bloc vote. They've not had it for a long time. They ceded it to the Greens a long, long time ago. I think there's something else going on here, and it's a point I've made before. But they're also terrified of civil unrest in the streets. They're terrified of the Islamists. They're terrified of the pro-Palestinian people. They're terrified of social breakdown. That's one of the reasons why they've been hesitating for so long. Yeah. That, coupled with ineptitude, is a recipe for disaster.
I agree, and what you don't need in these circumstances is a government that's clearly frightened. The entire cabinet are clearly frightened of the implications of what's going on, and they barely know how to handle it, and they're proving that demonstrably day by terrifying day. It is very frightening. These people could not run a bath, and here we are in basically a world war, and they don't know what to do. It's not good, Philip. It's not good. Good to talk to you, though. Thank you so much, Philip Kisley there, Senior Fellow at the New Culture Forum. How bad do you think this is? 0344 499 1000. I think the answer is very, very bad. Papers all over the weekend, some of the sort of, shall we say, left liberal political commentators sort of opining that somehow or other this could be Starmer's finest hour, how he's brilliantly kept us out of this conflict. He hasn't done anything, didn't plan anything, he's stumbling into every situation, then changes his mind. mind, we are not in the hands of a determined leader who knows what the hell he's doing. Quite the reverse. We're in the hands of a lousy leader who is completely clueless, I think, anyway. What do you think? 03444991000. When we come back, we'll talk to, shall we say, a remnant of those days when we did have a decent government with proper ministers. The former Conservative Defence Secretary Sir Gerald Howarth. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to my next guest, former Conservative Defence Secretary Sir Gerald Howarth. Welcome, Sir Gerald.
Hi, Kevin. In fact, I wasn't actually Defence Secretary. I was Minister for International Security Strategy, which obviously is relevant to what we're talking about today.
Well, I still think your comments may be of some value. Well, what do you think about what you've been watching? It's a shambles, isn't it? I mean, Keir Starmer has wrecked the special relationship by, at first, refusing to allow Donald Trump to use our air bases, then too late changing his mind, so now they are using them. So he's managed to offend everyone in that respect. Donald Trump is furious with us. Meanwhile, we have a Chief of Defence Staff praising the military for the marvellous work they're doing getting HMS Dragon ready to go to protect the 100,000 citizens or British citizens or so on the island of Cyprus. They haven't been defended by us so far. They've been defended by foreign navies. That ship, HMS Dragon, having been ordered to go to the Mediterranean last Monday, It's still not ready. It may be ready tomorrow. We keep our fingers crossed. And certainly rather late in life, suddenly Starmer admitted or announced over the weekend, I'll send a British aircraft carrier, which frankly was over the top. We don't need to send an aircraft carrier, the Prince of Wales. Donald Trump turns around contemptuously and said, it's a bit late now, we've already won the war. We don't need allies who come in after we've won. So now Starmer has decided not to send the Prince of Wales. I mean, it's just chaos, and the headline is Britain just looks like an ineffectual bystander, doesn't it?
Well, Kevin, where do we start? This is the most humiliating shambles that we have seen in many a long year. It is true that since the end of the Cold War, we have progressively reduced our military capability. We did it when I was in office in 2010, but we inherited a budget deficit of £160 billion in 1 year. So we were having to make savings, albeit that I took the view that defence should not be amongst those departments whose budgets were cut. But bringing us back to today, I think so many in our country are disgusted by the behaviour of the Prime Minister. I was very interested in what Philip Kisley said a moment ago about the government being held beholden to the Muslim vote. After what happened in Denton and Gorton 10 days ago, the by-election there, where all the Muslims and the pro-Iran and anti-Israel people deserted Labour and voted for the Greens. Clearly, Labour is absolutely petrified. And as Philip also said, they're petrified about insurrection on the streets. I mean, this is catastrophic that our foreign policy is being determined by a government which believes it to be beholden either to a minority group in our country or to international law. And there is every reason why under international law, when the Prime Minister himself has admitted that we've had 20 challenges in our country by Iran or Iran's proxies, we have a right to retaliate against these people. But the fact is we do not have the shipping available. And I'm afraid to say I'm extremely disappointed with the Chief of the Defence Staff. I do know Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton. I do know him, and I think he's a good man. But for him to say what he has said...
I'm very proud of the Navy. I mean, nobody's having a go at the actual servicemen, the actual troops. I mean, they're just doing their job. They're under orders. But to be proud of the Navy under these circumstances, they're working night and day to get this ship ready. I mean, can he not see that this situation is almost a sick joke?
Absolutely. And the fact is that there is no excuse. We have seen the USS Abraham Lincoln turned round from its mission in the South China Sea, turned back to the Gulf of Oman. The writing has been on the wall for weeks. Where has the government been? And I'm bound to say, where have the admirals and the air marshals been? What have they been doing to prepare the armed forces so that the politicians have options on the table? If you have nothing available, don't forget we only have 6 destroyers. The engines that they were provided with originally didn't work in hot water.
I know.
So we've had to replace all the engines in just 6 Type 45 frigates, which are the best air defense platforms in the world. They are fantastic. But the idea that readiness was not put in place as soon as the Abraham Lincoln was turned round, I just find it astonishing. I do remember talking to an admiral on one occasion and said it was extraordinary. We suddenly needed action, and there was a submarine there. And he looked at me with a smile and said, "That's what we do." Yeah,
because they were prepared. But can I just, because I've got very long, Sir Joe, it's really good to have you on the show, but I think that the magnitude of what happened in Cyprus is being understated so far. So we think it was 2 missiles, if not from Iran, certainly Iranian sponsored. They may have been Hezbollah, but these are Iranian missiles. We think it's 2, but certainly 1 landed directly on one of the RAF air bases on Cyprus. The other one just missed. So this was the first time that British sovereign territory had been militarily attacked by an enemy since the Falklands War in 1982. Think about that. And what has our response been? I know absolutely nothing. to shrug our shoulders. John Healey, the Defence Secretary, I would suggest one of the better people in our shambles of a cabinet, he actually went on to television to pretend that this was probably an accident. They're just spraying missiles everywhere. Who knows where they might land? What an absolute joke that was. But are we now a nation that accepts enemies firing missiles at our sovereign territory and just shrugs our shoulders and does nothing about it? Because ever since that's happened, the island of Cyprus, which has 100,000 plus British citizens on, including, of course, many thousands of military personnel, has been defended and protected by the French Navy, the Greek Navy, the Spanish Navy, we think also the Dutch Navy. The one Navy that hasn't protected British citizens is the British Navy, because we're not there. I think the magnitude of that situation and just how much this Prime Minister and this government have let the people of this country down is being understated.
No, I think that's absolutely right, and I think it's extremely serious. You're quite right, Kevin. This is extremely serious because Cyprus is a vital sovereign base for the United Kingdom. And if you have the government of Cyprus saying, well, actually, we're going to question whether the United Kingdom should continue to have that sovereign base,
exactly,
that is of massive strategic importance to us. But I'd like to make a couple of points very quickly, if I may. The first is that in 2023, the Public Accounts Committee made this point. The Ministry of Defence is becoming increasingly reliant on the UK's allies to protect the UK's national interests. And that has been the policy of governments for far too long. They've run down our capability. And Conservatives, I'm afraid, were responsible for that, although the new current Shadow Secretary of State for Defence, my son-in-law James Cartledge, is really, really up for this and understands the massive need to rearm. So we have got to do. We cannot continue to be reliant upon our allies to defend us. We need to build up our own capability in the United Kingdom. We need that sovereign capability, which gives us the operational sovereignty that flows from that. But we have deeply damaged our relationship with the United States, even though they have a maverick president, at a time of great importance. And I say one thing: it is vital now that this assault on Iran is seen through. It is vital that there is now regime change, because the alternative is that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps will take control, and they will go hell for leather to equip that country with a nuclear capability, and that will be catastrophic for us, but much more importantly, catastrophic for the whole of the Middle Eastern region. So what has happened is that our Prime Minister has basically stood aside, partly because he's a human rights lawyer and is beholden to the Human Rights Brigade, with an Attorney General who has acted for some of the most disreputable people in our country.
Yeah, I mean, he's Herma is a serious problem. Listen, Sir Gerald, I've got to go, but thank you so much. Please come on again very soon. For strong words there from Sir Gerald Howarth, a former Conservative cabinet minister. So next up, we're going to talk about another aspect of this story. A lot of people saying that the King should now call off his state visit to America to celebrate Britain losing our colony, the United States, all those years ago in the War of Independence. So a lot of people say because Starmer has insulted our Prime Minister, and by extension they say insulted this country, then the King shouldn't pay America the respect of a state visit. I don't see it that way. I completely agree with Donald Trump. I think more people ought to tell this little gimp who's running this country exactly what's wrong with him, and that's a lot. So let's go to break and let's talk about that next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to historian, royal expert Rafe Heidel-Mancoux. Welcome, Rafe.
Hi there, Kevin.
Now, mostly, I think, coming from the left side of the fence, so many commentators, pundits, opinion makers are saying that because Donald Trump has disrespected our Prime Minister, disrespected Keir Starmer, you don't have to disrespect Keir Starmer, you can leave it to him. But because Donald Trump has apparently, allegedly disrespected our dear leader, and by extension this country, that the King should cancel his state visit to America. I believe it's in April, where he's going to take part in the celebrations to mark us losing the War of Independence and losing the colonies of America. In itself, quite a funny thing for him to be doing. I think my thoughts on this is, look, the Prime Minister has wrecked the special relationship. Let's send the King over and see if he can repair this very important special relationship. So I think cancelling it would make things even worse. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And this just epitomizes how petty the left is, that they are more prepared and more concerned about having a temper tantrum and as a result, fracturing even further our most important relationship. We have to understand that, of course. And this is one of those moments when we should be so happy and glad that we do have a monarchy, somebody who rises above politics, because there's a reason that we are the #2 soft power in the world. A lot of that is embedded in the fact that we have a monarchy. And we have in President Trump someone who genuinely respects and admires, dare I say, even reveres our royal family. Great respect for King Charles, but also he regards the Prince and Princess of Wales as royal rock stars. And we know he's very excited about their trip to America in June, in time for the World Cup. So it's hugely important for the King to go in April. And I think it's quite worrying, actually, that there is conversation now, not only from the loony left and people like Ed Davey, a man you can normally always ignore whatever he says, but actually there are insiders also saying that this isn't the right time because of the Iranian conflict. Should you be having great pomp and pageantry when all this stuff is happening in Iran? I say yes, absolutely. We need someone to pour oil on the stormy waters of the Atlantic, and there's no one better placed to do that than King Charles.
Yeah, and look at this, of course, this call to call off the state visit. And by the way, you can't just cancel a state visit. It is a matter of international diplomacy. These things are prepared for years. The naivety of going, "I'll call it off because we don't like Trump." It's just pathetic, really. It's juvenile. But one of these Labour backbenchers, the lefties, of course, who were calling for the cancellation of the state visit of King Charles, said that, look, we need to look at what the value of this visit is. It is clearly a changed geopolitical situation. Then he goes on to say, the UK wants de-escalation in the Middle East, and the Prime Minister has been clear that international law must not be broken. Stop going on about international law, for God's sake. People are firing missiles at each other, dropping bombs on each other. People are dying, and our body politic here in Britain, the Labour lot and the Prime Minister and the ludicrous Attorney General, Richard Hermer, they're all talking about the law, whether or not it's legal, whether or not a law has been broken. Imagine going up to somebody mortally wounded by one of these missiles and saying the good news is that missile did not break international law. It is pathetic. And to call for de-escalation, what is the point of that? You know, this is Britain's stance. We're called for de-escalation. What is the point? It is erupting over there. Our stance is purely performative, theatrical, and frankly, derisive.
Well, it just really reveals that the degree to which we are led by political pygmies in this country and have been for years. these are moments that really call for statesmanship. And Trump was quite right to say Keir Starmer is no Winston Churchill. Churchill wouldn't have been poring through his legal text to make sure that every T was crossed and I was dotted. This is a moment when you have to make decisive decisions, which are, of course, not only in the national interest, but are also the morally right thing to do. This was a regime that slaughtered up to 50,000 of its own citizens just a few weeks ago. Other powers understood this. Even Starmer's centre-left buddies in Canada and Australia understood this from the outset, and they supported Trump from day one, whereas we were oohing and ahhing about whether we should use our bases, not to actually have RAF planes take part, just to give them access to our landing strip. I mean, for a country that was one of the great powers not that long ago, one of the big three at the end of World War II. What a sorry state, as you said in your last interview about the state of our Royal Navy too. I think this is the lowest point for Britain on the international stage in any of our lifetimes, probably in the last 200 years, actually. So whittled down is our international standing and our military forces. But it has to be said also, you know, the King has not yet officially had any dates set for this trip to America either. I've never known a state visit where actually we are so close to April, to the attempted date of this visit at the end of April. Still, we don't know anything about the event, when it will happen, where it will take place. We're told maybe in Washington and New York, but we don't have any details about that. It's quite remarkable. You know, the late Queen Elizabeth II, she went to America for the bicentennial year, 1976. It's imperative that we have the King there again for the 250th anniversary, because it's our most important ally, because we were involved somewhat in the events of 1776. I think that's very important. In advance of July, we have to be there also in the lead up. They're talking about delaying it till the end of the year.
No.
Well, the party will be over that by that point. The point is to go now when anticipation is building for July the 4th.
And also, Rafe, the King can really do some valuable work here, because old Donald is very swayable. He's very flexible when it comes to the royals. If the royals smile at him, he will do anything for them. So the King can go over and repair the absolute mess that the Prime Minister has made of the special relationship. So he's got to go, and the idea that he shouldn't, that we should call it off, is ridiculous. And I'll tell you another thing that I find personally insulting. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they go, the Prime Minister or the President of the United States has been disrespectful about our Prime Minister, therefore the King shouldn't go on this state visit. As far as I'm concerned, he can be disrespectful as much as he damn well like, because this Prime Minister deserves disrespect. He warrants no respect. His behaviour through this escalating conflict that he is pretending we're not involved in, or that he can keep us out of, has been a national humiliation and a national disgrace.
And of course, let's remember, no one has been more disrespectful to the great British public than our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, a man who has prioritised far-left ideology and open borders over the interests of the British people, a man who, of course, has called the decent folk of this country far-right thugs because they dared to take to the streets and protest about the massacre of young girls, a man who is willingly giving away the Chagos Islands, who was appointed as his Attorney General, a man who consulted with the Caribbean nations over paying trillions of pounds of reparations for slavery from British taxpayers. This is a Prime Minister who has no respect for the British people, so it's a bit rich for his acolytes and his the numpties around him to talk about disrespect in this context.
Absolutely, Rafe. And if you're watching Keir and you fancy being disrespected a little bit more than just by President Trump, tune into this show. You'll have a whale of a time. Rafe, great to talk to you as always. Rafe Heidelmanku, historian, royal expert there. Should the King call off his state visit to America to celebrate the 250th anniversary of independence? It's supposed to be going in there in April. The lefties are saying he shouldn't go because he's disrespected Keir Starmer. I think he should go specifically for that reason, to pat Donald on the back, say well done. No, but seriously, he can repair the special relationship. We do need it, for better or for worse. As Tony Blair pointed out on Friday, the defence of this nation is integrally preserved by our relationship with America. We need America to defend us, to protect us. You might not like it, but it's a fact. So if we annoy America and it refuses to protect us, we are undefended, as has been proved. So Tony Blair's right, isn't he? Keir Starmer should never have said no to using our air bases. By doing that, he put you, me, British citizens in Britain and around the world in serious danger. This guy is abrogating his duty. 0344 499 1000. Next up, let's have a little bit of a chat, shall we, about Mojtaba Khamenei. He's the new Khamenei in charge. He's the son of the old one. He's the richest man in Iran. How does he own? He owns something like 140 million pounds worth of property in London. Yeah, if you're Iranian, you know where your taxes have been going, don't you? Been ripping you off. Anyway, apparently he's been injured, but apparently not fatally. That's a shame. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Let's go straight. I haven't got much time, but let's talk to Kambiz Irani, Iranian political activist. Welcome, Kambiz.
Hi, thanks for having me, Kevin.
Thank you. Do you happen to know how the new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, the old one's son, has managed to become possibly Iran's richest man? He owns property in London worth more than $138 million. He's got 2 apartments that overlook the Israeli embassy, so that's slightly worrying. He has property all over the world. How did he get to be so rich?
Thanks for having me, as I said. I think first we need to understand that potentially he might be actually even dead, and a corpse is in charge in a way so that they can give some hope to their hardline supporters and stop any moves by other factions of the regime.
Is that what you think, Kambiz, because there are reports that he's been injured? You think he might have been killed, yeah?
Yes, because there's been no sightings of him, no videos of him, no photos since the announcements. I know there's security measures, obviously, because of the war, but you would expect at least some kind of announcement. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's not a surprise. He was the head of really pretty much IRGC, which controlled pretty much all of Iran's economic oil and kind of business interests. So in a way, they've been ripping off the country over the last 47 years.
So him and his father, Kambiz, are a couple of crooks.
They are the biggest mafia in the world that have been basically pushing terrorism across the world, including the UK, having people get shot, get killed. So and they've built up a vast fortune they're saying something in the close of 100 billion. I know you mentioned 100 million. We're talking about 100 billion.
My God.
Is his fortune worldwide.
It's just astonishing, isn't it? We haven't got long, Canvas. You must come on and we'll talk longer another time. But in terms of this attack by Israel and America, that a lot of the liberals here in Britain and around the world, particularly in America, are criticising, why did you do this? You ruined the world. Do you buy into... My feeling about it is that both Netanyahu and Trump felt, or they had information that indicated that Iran might not be that long off having a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon, maybe even weeks. If that is true, Cambiz, then surely both Israel and America were right to strike Iran.
Just as you know, a month ago, this regime killed 50,000 people of its own citizens, brutally, savagely. They've been doing it for 47 years. Of course, they were going to be close to building an atomic bomb, their ballistic missile policy. It's funny that we didn't hear of any of this left liberal thinkers when innocent Iranians were being killed. Mojtaba Khamenei, the person who's taken over, is actually the mastermind behind the IRGC forces, which have basically killed these thousands of people. So Iranians in Iran, I'm watching videos every day, are saying we fully support this move because it gives them a hope for freedom. They have been in prison for 47 years with an occupying force, which is not Iranian. Their only service is their sick ideological version of Islam. It's not even real Islam.
And there's 125,000 members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps who are a kind of cross between the Nazi SS Gestapo and the KGB. They'll be hard to knock out, won't they? And they will continue to impose a kind of reign of terror. There's reports that the television service in Iran is threatening rebels with killing their kids. So it might not be that easy to depose these people.
I don't think it will be easy, but I think definitely with the action that has happened, it will definitely make it easier for the Iranian people to go in the streets and have a more fair game. Also, don't forget, defections are growing by the day. We are hearing lots of big commanders are potentially changing sides and going behind the main opposition leader, which is the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. So I think there will be very interesting times over the next few days.
Oh, yeah.
And we definitely think that the opposition will have a chance to potentially take over the country.
OK, Cambiz, thank you very much. Come on again soon. We need to talk. That's Cambiz Irani, a Iranian political activist. Very interesting. Isabel Oakeshott live from Dubai, and next after the news, so you better stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Rachel Reeves is in the House of Commons at the moment making one of her trademark speeches. Don't blame me, Governor. Inflation might go up, but it's to do with the war in the Middle East. It's not my fault. Everything's the Tories. And other people. It's not me. Whatever. Who cares? Now, we just heard from Iranian political activist Kambiz Irani. This is interesting because he thinks, and he must have good lines of information, that the new Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei, who was only appointed, I think it was just over the weekend, Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the old one, he's 52 years old. I was just reporting he's one of the richest, well, he's the richest man in Iran, one of the richest men in the world, owns luxury property here in Britain worth $138 million alone, and he has property all over the world, absolutely loaded. Kambiz Irani was saying, well, he may be Iran's richest man, but he looks like he may well be Iran's richest dead man now. Now, they're reporting Iran is conceding that he's been wounded or injured somehow in some kind of attack, one would assume. Now, the last time we heard that an Ayatollah had been slightly hurt, it was the predecessor, Ali Khamenei, and that was with the attack by America and Israel on his compound. And of course, fairly soon afterwards, we found out that his injuries were not exactly minor. In fact, he was dead, brown bread. Now, I wonder if his son is now already dead, because once Iran starts admitting that someone's wounded, it usually means, you know, they got no head left, that kind of thing. So maybe this Ayatollah served for about 24 hours. Man, what a shame. Waited all that time to get power and only managed a day. But be fascinating if he's dead. And if he is dead, it means that the Americans and the Israelis have got amazing lines of intelligence. They must know where everybody is at any given point. So interesting things going on. During this hour, the second hour of today's drive time, we're going to go off-piste a little bit. We're not going to do the war all the way through the next 60 sizzling minutes. So we're going to talk about the migrant crisis next in a little while, because I'm going to bring you the story of the Bangladeshi migrant who broke into this country illegally in 1998. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? He's still here. He's had his asylum rejected multiple times, keeps appealing, just had it rejected again, has appealed again. We're still not deporting him. That goes to the heart of exactly why we've got the migrant crisis, because our authorities are completely useless. This guy should have been thrown out of the country more than 2 decades ago. He's still here, still fighting deportation, and we're just going, yeah, that's okay. It's just ridiculous. We'll talk about that next. And also Peter Blexley, former Met Police detective, will join us to discuss the rather disturbing fact that 5 years on from the death of Sarah Everard, when that poor girl was murdered by that excuse for a police officer, Wayne Couzens, the alleged sex crimes by serving coppers have trebled. You'd think they might go down, wouldn't you? But no, they've trebled. What is going on in our police force? We'll talk about that later on in the hour. Now, first of all, though, very pleased to go live to, I guess, the heart of the action, Dubai, where Talk's brilliant international editor, Isabel Oakeshott, is waiting to report. Hi, Isabel.
Hi, good afternoon, Kev. Well, I'm still reading reports of people making mad journeys to Oman and other overland neighboring countries to get out of Dubai and commissioning private jets and stuff. It's completely ludicrous. There are flights operating commercially out of Dubai today. I know that because my partner Richard Tice was on one of them. So I still think there's a lot of hysteria being reported, which doesn't match with the reality as we feel it here on the ground in Dubai today. It's been a really quiet day here. There have been a number of missiles hurled in this direction, but it hasn't resulted in any alerts in the area that I'm living in. And generally, the number of ballistics being thrown at us has reduced quite significantly. That said, Abu Dhabi has had a busier and more difficult day on that front, but it definitely feels as if it's calming a little bit. But we all know that this is a very, very volatile situation.
Well, it just may be that Iran is lacking leadership at the moment, because there are suggestions that Mojtaba Khamenei, the new Ayatollah, may already be dead. Iran is conceding that he's been injured in some kind of attack, but it could be a lot worse than that, which is interesting. Now, back here, Isabel, what are your thoughts on what's been going on over this weekend? On Friday, the former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, the former Labour Prime Minister, criticised the current Labour Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, saying that he slammed Keir Starmer, saying, look, the defence of Britain, the defence of British citizens, keeping British citizens safe, is integrally wound up in our special relationship with America. You know, we might not like this, but it is a fact of life that we need America to defend Britain. That's the way the cookie has crumbled. That's where we're at. So it's not a question of, oh, it's terrible that we've come to this point. We just have. So you do not alienate America, and yet our Prime Minister has done that. Tony Blair on Friday saying this is a serious abrogation of duty, because when your closest ally on whom the defence and protection of your citizens is essential, when they need your help, you, and I'm quoting him, you'd better show up. We didn't. Yeah. We didn't. Hence the special relationship, thanks to Keir Starmer, is in the toilet. He, too little too late, said, I do want to help America. I'll send an aircraft carrier out to the Mediterranean, the Prince of Wales. And they started to get it ready. Trump says, no thanks, Prime Minister Starmer. You know, we don't really need an ally that turns up to a war after we've won it. So now the Prince of Wales won't be going to the Mediterranean, and we've got our fingers crossed that maybe at long last HMS Dragon, which was deployed to help our citizens on Cyprus last Monday, might be going tomorrow. The Chief of Defence Staff, Sir Richard, what was his name? Sir Richard Knighton, I think his name is, praising the Royal Navy staff, all the staff, Sir Richard Knighton, praising military staff for working round the clock to get this boat ready. I don't doubt that they're working very hard, but this isn't the time for praise from a Chief of Defence Staff. This is a time to hold your head low in embarrassment, in shame, isn't it?
Well, I feel really sorry for our armed forces, because no one goes into the armed forces not hoping to do good. You know, that's the whole point of what they're training for. They're training for moments like this. And I am sure that to a man and woman, they want to be where they are required, helping protect our national interests and doing their part as part of an alliance against this murderous regime in Iran. And yet there they are, stuck in Portsmouth. And as for the carrier, you know, what an absolute crying shame that is. What is the point of these carriers? You know, I don't want to hear about them going on some friendly voyage to say hello to the Australians. You know, we invested billions in these carriers. We put the whole armed forces budget was distorted as a result of the acquisition of these carriers. And I happen to think that it would have been the right thing to do if we couldn't only have got them up and running a little bit before they became virtually obsolete. But what this conflict shows is that carriers do still have utility. massive kind of floating airport that you can put anywhere you choose to put it. And then when the time comes and the call is for us to be in the region where there's trouble, where those great big floating airports could make a difference, where are they? Well, they are alongside in Portsmouth. What was the point of acquiring those magnificent bits of kit, which are supposed to demonstrate that the UK is still a world power? It still wants to be part of shaping the way our world looks and protecting things like freedom of navigation and so on and so forth. And yet we just can't seem to ever actually get our act together with this stuff. So it has been a shameful moment in our history.
Yeah, the Chief of Defence Staff, a guy called Air Chief Marshal Sir Richard Knighton. I mean, you know, I'm sure he's a fine man, and I'm not blaming the troops on the ground, the naval officers and rank and file workers, but because, you know, they just do what they're told. But this is what this guy said about the preparation for HMS Dragon, sent to Cyprus to defend British citizens last Monday, still in Portsmouth Harbour. He said this: "I'm enormously proud of the work of the Royal Navy. They've been working night and day to get that ship ready, get the ammunition on board, get the stores on board and bring it out of its maintenance state so it's ready to go within the next few days." Well, whoop-de-doo. Sir Richard, you should not be enormously proud of this. You should be enormously ashamed. This ship was deployed last Monday, showing no signs of even leaving today. It may just go tomorrow. Meanwhile, the French Navy, the Spanish Navy, the Greek Navy, the Dutch Navy has been defending British citizens on the island of Cyprus. And if the Prince of Wales aircraft carrier had gone to the Mediterranean, it would have had to be escorted by French warships. Isn't that special?
I mean, if we're not going to use our kit at all, what's left of it, then why are we even bother pretending? I don't understand why we would even bother pretending and maintaining this stuff. It costs a fortune maintaining those carriers. What is the point if we're not going to use them? And as for being tremendously proud of working hard and night and day to get this boat ready, I'm going to call it a boat because that's how it feels. Feels like
tugboat.
Boaty McBoat face.
Yeah, Tuggy McBoat face.
No, it's not as if there haven't been any warning signals. You know, you, me, and, you know, Uncle Jim down the road all knew that the Americans were gathering every bit of hardware they had in the Gulf in preparation for something coming up sometime soon. So how much more must our defence chiefs have known about what was coming? How much more must our intelligence chiefs have known about what was coming? How come we didn't have anything ready at all to go and help our allies? You know, defence policy experts have been warning about this for years. Mm-hmm. It's not just whether or not we have the kit, it's is it ready to go? And quite clearly, we've now learned that it is not ready to go. We have neither the people nor the stuff to be in the places where it matters when it matters.
And according to some reports, our staff at Portsmouth Harbour have been working round the clock to get this HMS Dragon ready.
Normal, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
working round the clock from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. because the dock staff only work regular working days. So whether or not we're working 24/7 is a moot point, to say the least. 9 to 5 it looks like they've been working on this boat, and for it to actually set sail, if it does tomorrow, 8 days after the Prime Minister deployed it, is pathetic and embarrassing. And Sir Richard Knighton should not be enormously proud. He should be enormously ashamed. Let me ask you another thing, Isabel. We're hearing, I had an Iranian activist on the show just before you, actually, and you've seen these reports that the new Ayatollah, the old one's son, Mojtaba Khamenei, we've seen reports that he has been injured. well, the word is amongst Iranian activists that those injuries are sort of somewhat extensive and he may well be dead. That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Well, say one thing about that job is it's a job for life, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, he clearly wasn't going to be America's choice of successor, was he?
No.
And anyone who replaces him that is simply from the Khomeini bloodline is also going to be a target. You know, this is the same family, and this man was never going to be able to do any deals with America. The Americans have taken out pretty much his entire family, so he's hardly going to be well disposed to Donald Trump. What is very clear is that there is no leadership in Iran at the moment, and as an illustration of that, you know, you've got that declaration from the sort of interim president on, I think it was Saturday.
Yeah, saying that he wouldn't be sending any more missiles out to,
and you know,
followed immediately by missiles be sent out to other Gulf states. Yeah.
Here in the UAE, we sort of thought, oh well, that's good because we have been the #1 target of this whole conflict. Extraordinary to think, you know, it hasn't been Israel that has had the greatest onslaught, it has been the UAE. So we were all thinking, well, how much seriousness do we attach to this? I understood very little whatsoever, and pretty much within about an hour and a half, you know, on came the next missile. So there's no centralized control, quite evidently, from that.
No, exactly right. I think sort of rogue generals are just pressing buttons left, right, and centre. So you've got a war, but you've also got a war of chaos. Before you go, it's not often you and I discuss the royals, but we have to because you had a brilliant exclusive scoop in the Mail on Sunday yesterday. I've made a lot of play about Fergie and Andy, the former Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, obviously a couple of nefarious con artists with the moral backbone of jellyfish, with the morality of a alley cat on heat. Neither of them got a moral bone in their body. And of course have been making money nefariously from Epstein and other dodgy financiers, no doubt about that. Well, I've been saying, well, what about the daughters? Because King Charles said, I don't want to blame Beatrice and Eugenie, you know, it's not their fault. Yeah, well, maybe it is. Because don't forget, Bea and Eugenie, when Prince William said, look, I've got a way to extricate you from your parents' problems. All we need to do is send in ethical accountants to go through your money to make sure you haven't received any cash from dodgy sources. So that won't be a problem, will it, Bea, Eugenie? Is that okay? Yeah? No. The ethical accountants were not allowed in, and you revealed these extraordinary emails from David Rowlands, the banker, the man that Andrew called his money man, asking Andrew, confirming with Andrew, £100,000, 50,000 each for both Bea and Eugenie. Is that right? Am I right there? Now, whether or not they ever got that money is a moot point, but they're up to their necks in all this, what their parents were up to, aren't they?
I'm afraid they are. Now, you know, you can't blame teenagers for, you know, the sins of their parents. But what this reveals is there have long been question marks over how on earth do Beatrice and Eugenie, how have they funded their luxury lifestyles? Well, what I revealed gives a little bit of an insight into how they may have helped fund that. And you know, these emails between Andrew and his private banker friends, the very questionable David and Jonathan Rowland, they talk about sums of money like you and I would talk about a fiver. They will talk about, well, just 50 grand here or there, you know, 100 here, 50 there, almost to the point of not bothering putting whether it's hundreds of thousands or thousands, because money is sloshing around all over the place. And this was a very neat arrangement. It worked brilliantly for the Rowlands as Andrew opened doors for them all over the world with royals and senior government figures in some of the most seriously dubious regimes all around the world. Andrew's job was to open the door, make introductions, The Rowlands pitched their business at them and everyone came out with a cut. Happy days. Until it's not happy days anymore and somebody reveals the correspondence and it turns out, you know, that Andrew is doing business with people who actually wanted to recruit the family of Kim Jong-un as their next clients.
Yeah, and it's quite clear that the saintly Eugenie and Beatrice are no longer trusted by the royal family. They've been asked or ordered not to turn up for Ascot. They won't want to be seen, or they've been ordered not to be seen at any more royal events. And this weekend we learned that Princess Eugenie, her own anti-slavery charity, it's called the what's it called? Where is it? The Anti-Slavery International, it's called. They've kicked her out. She's no longer connected with that, and they've destroyed all references to her on that website. So it's pretty clear, I guess we have to say, allegedly, that this pair of princesses were up to their necks in what their parents were up to. Andrew took Beatrice on several of his mysterious trips to the Middle East and China, money-raising trips to those stands that he liked to get cash from. So this idea that these poor princesses were innocently caught up in their parents' nefarious web of rancid intrigue, it's not true, is it? They knew exactly what was going on, so they're going to get kicked out of the royal fold too. Isabel, great scoop. Good to talk to you. We'll talk to you again on Wednesday. All the best. Thank you very much. Isabel Oakshott there in Dubai, right at the thick of it. Talks International editor. When we come back, we're going to talk about the migrant crisis. 816 migrants came across the channel illegally last week. Yeah, the crisis is back on, folks. Meanwhile, I'm going to bring you the story of one particularly enterprising illegal migrant who arrived here illegally in 1998, was refused asylum, is still being refused asylum, is still appealing and still hasn't been deported 28 years after arriving. Sums it all up, doesn't it? Ridiculous. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. My next guest is Robert Bates from the Centre for Migration Control, where he is the research director. Welcome, Robert.
Afternoon, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Now, last week, I'm not sure what the tally was yesterday, but as of Saturday, last week's illegal crossings of the Channel by chance of foreigners hoping to break into our country, which of course they all did successfully, was 816. Quite a massive amount for so early in the year. We're on course for a big total this year, trust me, because we don't have any deterrence. Now, let's talk about one case that proves. So 816 came across. They'll all cost us £40,000 a year. I'll work out how much that is in a minute. £40,000 a year each for 816 people. And every single last one of them will prove to be extremely difficult to get out of this country, whether or not we decide that their applications for asylum should be approved. It doesn't seem to make any difference whether or not they get their applications approved, because if they get them refused, they just appeal. And then they get them refused again, so they appeal again. And then they get them refused again, so they appeal again. And they keep appealing until some idiot in an industrial tribunal court, some guardian-reading judge, lets them stay. That is the system. Check out this guy, Muna Mia. He's from Bangladesh. He first entered this country illegally in 1998, 28 years ago. He was refused asylum. He seemed to manage to go completely missing till 2010. Then he was caught, so he applied to formally remain in Britain in 2012, but was refused. So he appealed and was refused. So he appealed and was refused, and he appealed again. He's currently involved, I think, in about his 5th appeal. We should have deported this guy, more than 2 decades ago. 28 years he's been in this country. Having the description of how he got into this country was, the official description is, quote, clandestinely. What does that mean? In other words, he broke into this country illegally. We finally caught him. We deported him. He's been appealing ever since. He's just been told to get out of the country again. What has he done? He's appealed again. So 28 years full of deportation orders, asylum application refusals, loads of appeals. The headline story is, after more than a quarter of a century, he's still here. This is the story of our migrant crisis. Our authorities just do nothing about this nonsense, that anybody who arrives here just can carry on appealing until the cows come home, and therefore stay.
Well, it's exactly that. It really does epitomise just the sheer ridiculous now of this situation, this pinging backwards and forwards and back again between upper immigration tribunals, lower immigration tribunals. Sometimes he submits a new asylum claim with some new evidence. Other times he says that there's been a fault with the way the decision was taken. All the while, he is still an illegal migrant, and that seems to be forgotten in this whole debacle as we're extending to him every due process that actually should really only be reserved for those here legally and are British citizens. He is absolutely exploiting the situation, and the sad reality is that there are thousands of others just like him doing the exact same thing, many of them still in asylum accommodation at our expense as well. But I think also the fact that he's made an appeal that because he's been here for so long illegally, he should probably now be given a legal migration status really does embody just the sheer the folly, the suicidal empathy of our immigration system. And actually, I think we have to ask questions as to how it was really even possible for an individual who's not got the correct paperwork, who really shouldn't actually be able to get a job, get a flat, or really exist officially in this country, has been able to live so comfortably for 27 years, sort of off the radar, going undetected. And I think actually that really gets to the heart of why we have over 1 million illegal migrants in this country, is because we don't do enough to deter them. They still can access healthcare, they can still access the rental market, the work market, and so forth. We need to go back to what Theresa May was trying to do and start creating a hostile environment that makes living in the UK without proper permission nigh on impossible.
Yeah, just to say, I've done the maths. I think I'm right that 816 migrants who came across the Channel when our only deterrent, the weather, didn't hold up. We had nice weather last week, so 816 came across. That's going to cost us more than £326 million over the next year. Good, isn't it? Absolutely.
Well, and then over the course of their lifetime as well, of course, it'll be about £500,000 per individual. So these are huge numbers.
It is so crazy. Now, Shabana Mahmood, the hardline, tough-talking Home Secretary, who we keep being told is the one to solve this migrant crisis. No shabs unless you leave the European Convention on Human Rights. You've got about as much chance of solving the migrant crisis as all your useless predecessors, the other Home Secretaries who did nothing but talk tough. Why, when she announced her big crackdowns, we're going to review their refugee status every 30 months. Oh, big deal. We're going to make sure that criminals, if they break the law, they won't be able to stay in that taxpayer-funded accommodation. Oh, whoop-de-doo, great. Why were they allowed to stay there in the first place? Why did she not announce this? At the very least, I mean, what I would announce is if you turn up here illegal, if you come across the Channel in an unlawful vessel and you try to break into our country, you negate your right to asylum. End of. However, that would be, a pipe dream on my part for the Labour government to announce something sensible like that, wouldn't it? But how about she announced that from now on, when an asylum seeker comes here, a migrant, and applies for asylum, and that application gets refused, we allow them one appeal, and if that is refused, that's it, you go. The idea that appeals can be lodged ad infinitum, that there's no limit on the amount of appeals you can lodge, is ridiculous, because what it means is once we say, no, I'm sorry, we've decided you can't stay, the migrants go, oh, we'll see about that, I'm going to appeal again. It's absurd.
Well, if she wants to solve this problem, she doesn't just need to leave the ECHR, she needs to leave the Labour Party, because, of course, her backbenchers aren't going to allow her to do anything remotely sensible on this. But when it comes to the appeals, the Tories were introducing at the end of their time in government plans that would have made it impossible for someone that had come into the country illegally to make any asylum claim. But actually, what Mahmood's done is she has watered it down, and she has said that they might try and limit it to one appeal per individual. I don't think that will ever actually take off because, of course, we have the human rights Supremo still calling the shots. And actually, I don't think there's enough focus really on these plans that she has put forward to give illegal migrants a route towards settlement and therefore a route towards citizenship. So not just that they will be able to appeal asylum, but they'll be able to stay indefinitely. And then, of course, we've started now hearing these rumblings about the safe and legal routes as well that she wants to create. There's talk of one coming into force in 2027. I think also actually we'll probably start seeing clamouring for some to be created in the Middle East this year as well as a result of the turmoil there as well. So actually the plans and the tough line measures, the sort of review every 30 months, the sort of kicking the criminals out of the asylum accommodation, they fall apart under the most basic of scrutiny and they won't be implemented. But actually it's the softer stuff that she's hidden behind the tough rhetoric, which is the most terrifying, because these are things that really, really would transform the way our asylum system operates, and unfortunately not for the better.
And what way do you think Shabana Mahmood and other idiots in the Labour government think? In what way do they think that the people of Britain are going, oh, fantastic, when they announce, you know what we're going to do, rather than have them come across the Channel illegally, we're going to create loads and loads of safe legal routes for them to arrive. We're going to make it easier for them to come here, and we're going to sponsor their journeys from now on. On what planet does Shabana Mahmood think that's going to be popular? Safe and legal routes. I got a better idea. No routes. That's an idea, isn't it?
And it's a brilliant idea. No one cares whether the individuals are on the boats, on bicycles, aeroplanes, hang gliders. It's just the simple fact that they are coming to Britain, and they're coming to Britain in such large numbers, actually making it easier for individuals to get a foothold in the UK and then start bringing over family members as well, is a terrifying prospect. And plus, it won't even stop the boats, because actually those individuals that don't qualify for a safe and legal route but still fancy a life of Riley in Britain, they're still going to be getting on the boats as well. So she's not going to solve the problem on that front either. And this is just goes to show the Labour Party don't, on any philosophical or ideological basis, really get why this issue is so animating the British public. And it is because it is an erosion of our communities. We're seeing an attack on our communities. We're seeing a huge fiscal cost. And the small boats are really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to just the sheer numbers that are coming in and have come in recent years.
Yeah, and last week, 816. That's a hell of a lot. I think it was 4 or 5 days in a row, hundreds of them coming across. So once again, revealing that this Labour government, and to be fair, governments before it, the Tories as well, have put up no deterrence to these people, just the weather. When the weather's nice, they will come across, and they will come across in their droves. And if there's any Labour Party members, politicians out there, we don't care about safe and legal routes. We want no routes. Unbelievable, undamn believable. And we also need to talk about, don't we, Robert, that last week, towards the end of last week, among the 816 who got across the Channel, at least among the migrants gathering, waiting their turn to come across the Channel, were apparently dozens of Iranians who'd already made the journey from war-torn Tehran, Iran, escaping that country, making their way to Calais to come to Britain, like all the other migrants. And the word is that more and more, we're going to get thousands of Iranians arriving on the beaches of northern France to make this situation, to make a bad situation even worse. 9 million Iranians are tipped to want to leave Iran, and they will make their way to this country. That is a terrifying prospect, isn't it?
It's an immensely terrifying one, and what should have happened as soon as things started to kick off over in the Middle East is that the government should have come out very clearly and said, well, we're going to suspend any asylum applications from Iranians, because it is just such an open door for those that want to cause our country serious harms. We've already seen instances of Iranians coming to the UK on small boats looking to commit really awful atrocities, especially against the Jewish community. And actually a responsible government, they're purporting to care about the welfare of the British public. If they really cared about the welfare of the British public, they would have made it very clear straight away that they're going to suspend any of the human rights apparatus, the asylum apparatus, when it comes to Iranians for a period of time at the very least, because of the sheer national security risk that is posed by the fact that individuals could be flooding in with really evil intent. Absolutely.
Robert, it's always good to have you on the show. Thank you very much. Robert Bates there from the Centre for Migration Control. He's the research director there. Let me know what you think. They're coming over, folks, and still they come. This government cannot stop a migrant to save its life. The only boat it has successfully stopped from crossing the Channel ever is HMS Dragon, which will need to cross the Channel on its way to the Mediterranean to protect British citizens in Cyprus, if on the off chance that it ever leaves Portsmouth Harbour. Sir Richard Knighton, Chief of Defence Staff. Very proud, immensely proud of the round-the-clock work that Navy staff are doing to get them. Are you proud? What are you talking about, proud? What's wrong with you? Hang your head in shame. This is a joke. 0344 499 1000. A little change of tone now. It's competition time. We are giving you the chance to win 2 hospitality tickets to the British Grand Prix on Sunday, the 5th of July, with full racing green trackside experience. This is the ultimate setup for race day. You'll get exclusive grandstand seats at the Loop and Village Corners, plus inner track access to watch the drivers arriving at the paddock, and access to the hospitality shuttle bus for easy on-site transport, racing simulators and live music between sessions, and all-day street food and an open bar. Listen up to find out how you could be in with a chance to win.
For your chance to win, text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close 20th of March 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Yes, the perfect Silverstone race day experience for any F1 fan, so don't miss out. Coming up after the break, it's Peter Bleksley. This is Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, back in 2021, Wayne Couzens, that excuse for a human being, then incredibly a serving policeman, kidnapped and murdered poor Sarah Everard, in a case that shocked the country. During that year, in the Met Police, the flagship police force of this country that covers London and the surrounding areas, there were 26 allegations against serving police officers of sexual assault. This year, you'd have thought that they would have gone down, wouldn't you, after the horror of poor Sarah's ordeal and the awfulness of what Wayne Couzens did, the sheer horror of what he did. But this year, last year, 68 allegations. So the number of serving police officers accused or charged with sexual assault, sex crimes, has trebled since the rape and murder of Sarah Everard. What on earth is going on? Let's talk to a man who used to be a Met Police detective. He is, of course, Peter Bleksley. Peter, this is strange, isn't it? You might have thought that the Met would have got the memo and that the number of police officers accused of sexual assault crimes or rape would have gone down since Sarah Everard. But no, it's rocketed. It's 3 times worse. What's going on?
Yes, you might do. First of all, let me just say, rest in peace, Sarah. It was appalling what happened to you. Yeah, but you see, the Metropolitan Police will have you believe that the reason more police officers are being investigated is because people feel more comfortable in coming forward to report these crimes. They won't for a moment contend with the fact that they've probably recruited a lot more wicked, evil, revolting sex offenders into their organisation. They won't contend that for a moment. And yet, in all reality, with the shocking lack of vetting, standards, discipline, supervision that goes on in the Met, this is exactly what's happened.
Yeah, there's still a massive recruitment problem, isn't there? I mean, when the horror of what happened to Sarah Everard unfolded before our shocked eyes, we learned then that the Met Police and other police forces around the country had an incredible policy of people just sending in applications to become coppers and being accepted into the force without ever being interviewed or spoken to. So to say that their recruitment policies were lax was the understatement of the century. They made all these pledges, oh, we're going to sort that out, you're quite right, we've been too easy. There were other sort of diversity elements to it, weren't there? That there were various peace forces who said we don't have enough officers of colour. So shall we say people were being recruited for virtue signalling reasons, not whether or not they'd be good coppers. So we had all of these problems. You would have thought, though, that the message would have got through. This isn't good enough. We need to select police officers on one basis. Are they the right kind of people to do the job? Clearly that message hasn't penetrated.
Yeah, box-ticking recruitment has plagued the Met and other police services for years as they've lowered their standards in order to get people of whatever minority it might be into the police service, instead of holding fast with an ethos that we recruit the right type of people. No. That's all been sacrificed on diversity, equality and inclusion criteria. And consequently, they're reaping the benefits of it. Or should I say, they're reaping the folly of their ways. Because much as people will stand up and shout and scream about it, people of colour who have been recruited into the police are disproportionately found to have committed either criminal offences or gross misconduct. And that's just a fact. Proportion-wise, they're far higher represented. So whatever way they're looking at it, whether the people they're getting in, the quality, the recruitment, the training, the standards, the supervision, and the shocking lack of discipline is all creating this situation whereby more and more police officers are getting arrested, charged and convicted for extremely serious crimes.
And you can only conclude, Pete, can't you, that the ethnic officers, you know, who disproportionately are found to have committed crimes, often sex crimes, a disproportionate number of them. You can only conclude that when it comes to recruiting officers of colour, ethnic officers, that standards are dropped deliberately in order to make the police force, wait for it, diverse and inclusive, right?
Yeah, and you're never going to get any police service in the land admit to that, but it's a very natural kind of conclusion to come to. But only yesterday, I spent 45 minutes in the company of a really fine, upstanding, fantastic police officer, an experienced officer with 10 years service, serving in the Met. And the picture that officer painted of that organisation was shocking. Morale non-existent. Supervisors only too happy to throw officers under the bus as opposed to covering their backs when they should do, i.e. when officers need supporting and not slaughtering. Lack of recruitment, a lack of retention, so many officers just wanting to leave the service, and he painted a very, very gloomy picture. But as we parted, and we'd had a very, very cordial time together, this officer turned around to me and said, well, of course, policing is a business. And I had to stop him there. And I said, if there's one thing you take from me from this conversation, it is that policing is not a business. It's got itself into the state that it's in because senior officers with their MBAs, Masters of Business Administration, have tried to run it like a business. Policing doesn't make anything. Policing doesn't sell anything. It is not a business. It is something unique. And yet successive generations of senior police officers have forgotten that. And that is why it is now the shambles, sadly, in so many regards, that it is.
Yeah, the last thing I'd say, Pete, as well, absolutely couldn't agree with you more, well said. It's also not a service. It is to enforce the law. The police, when they started calling it the police service, is when it all started going wrong. It is not a service. It is there to enforce the law. End of. Never mind community relations or dancing the Macarena. Just catch the bad guys, nick them and send them to jail. Then we'd all be happy. It's not rocket science, is it?
It certainly isn't. Look after. There's two communities that the police need to engage with, just to use some of their language for them. And that is, the first community is victims of crime, and the second community is perpetrators of crime. It's as simple as that.
We need to go back to your days, Pete. Really good to talk to you, as always. Thank you so much, mate. That's Pete Blexley, former Met Police detective. Let me know what you think about that in 5 years, 2021, when poor Sarah Everard was kidnapped, raped and killed by that piece of crap, Wayne Couzens, then a serving police officer, using his position as a police officer to lure her into his van. Since then, the number of police officers accused of or convicted of, charged with sexual assault, rape, sex crimes has trebled. That doesn't seem to be the traffic going in the right direction, does it? 03444991000. Let's go to break. When we come back, Sean Custis, head of sport at The Sun, will be in the studio letting us know exactly what's going on in the wonderful world of sport. That next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Sean Costas, head of sport of The Sun, is in the studio. Welcome, Sean. I see the FA Cup quarter-final draw was due to take place at London Stadium today. Has it happened yet?
Tonight, no. 7:05 tonight.
7:05.
Before West Ham play Brentford, which is the last of the FA Cup, last 16, which you're no longer in.
Yeah,
Colin.
nor are you, but
no, I know, but we've got an excuse. We played Man City, you played Southampton Championship side.
Well, there is that.
In what should have been, I think, a great chance for Fulham to have a go at the FA Cup this season. What else are you playing for? It's a great opportunity.
I don't know.
It was a pretty pitiful effort, really.
It was a pitiful effort because we didn't. Usually, Marco Silva, our manager, he's a shocker for putting out the D team when it comes to cups, but he didn't yesterday. He put out quite a strong team. We haven't got Harry Wilson, our talisman. He's injured at the moment, but nevertheless, he put a strong team out and we got beat.
You did, but well done to Port Vale for beating Sunderland.
Yeah, yeah.
we're all pretty happy with that, obviously. And
Sunderland fans, not so much.
No, but
that's amazing. What happened?
Really good. I mean, they're bottom of League One, aren't they, Port Vale? And yet they come up with a result like that, which is pretty good on, let's say, a difficult pitch, as they say, one of those lower league pitches which are difficult. But they'll be in the hat for the quarterfinals, and well done to them.
Yeah, indeed. Let's do a bit of rugby, shall we? After head coach Steve Borthwick revamped his England team to face Italy and found that their losing streak stubbornly rolled on regardless. He faces a difficult selection for the Six Nations.
Apparently so, and he has had the support of the chief executive, Bill Sweeney.
Always in big trouble.
Vote of confidence from Bill Sweeney.
Not the vote of confidence from the directors. Oh my God!
We believe in Steve and his plan, he says.
For now.
It's interesting. His quotes sort of say that they believe in him and with his plan. I think there's been a bit of off-the-record briefing that it better be okay, they'd better pick up, otherwise there'll be trouble in the summer. They've won one, I don't know how close you follow your rugby union, but they've won one game in this Six Nations. They go to France next week, and even though Scotland beat France, which was pretty remarkable, that's going to be a tall order. So there's every chance this could be our worst performance ever in the Six Nations. Only Wales will probably finish below England if England lose to France next weekend. Not very impressive. Football teams can lose to Italy sometimes, but rugby teams don't.
You shouldn't. No,
you shouldn't lose. Albeit that Italy have improved, there's no doubt about that. But you still shouldn't be losing to Italy, and that's pretty poor. And they're on a very, very bad run. And if Borthwick was a football manager, he'd probably be sacked.
He's probably chewing his nails as we speak. But let's go back to football. Talk about Rodri up at
what do you reckon to this? So I don't know if you remember, but Rodri complained recently when City had a 2-2 draw with Spurs.
Yeah.
He was complaining about the fact he felt Solanke had kicked through Mark Gahey, who was the City defender, in order to score his goal and took his legs away. And then afterwards he says, I know we win too much, but people don't want us to win. The referee has to be neutral. It's not fair. The implication being that the referee was bent, frankly.
Yeah.
And he's got away with not being banned. Now, usually those sort of comments get you a ban. Certainly if you're a manager, they get you a ban, but he hasn't. He's only been fined £80,000, which I agree to a lot of this. It's quite a lot of money.
That's a tenner to you and me, isn't it?
But not a lot to the European Footballer of the Year, of course, is what he is. He says his words originally in his first letter, he said his words were misunderstood and misinterpreted. We've got to accept the fact it's not his first language, so I do kind of get that.
Okay.
But then in a second letter he acknowledged that it was inappropriate and he fell below the standard expected, and he doesn't imply bias or question the integrity of the officials, but he has got a big rap on the knuckles with a fine, but he's no ban, which I think a lot of people are quite surprised about, because it doesn't show great respect for referees.
No, it doesn't. It's a very childish thing to say as well. I mean, you know, referees make a lot of mistakes, and when they get things wrong, it's always the home fans always say, "Oh, they're biased," and
like you do.
Yeah, yeah, of course I do. But let's be honest, they're not really, are they?
No. Well, you don't think so.
Well, put it this way. I'll tell you what.
Certainly not the English referees.
There's a problem, I think, sometimes with referees and the home crowd.
Yeah.
They tend to be loath to give decisions against the visitors.
I think that's always been the case, to be honest.
But generally speaking, I don't think corruption and bias is a problem among our referees. So Rodri's just being silly and childish, isn't he?
He was a little bit, but I think he'd be quite relieved that he's got away with not having a ban, because, I mean, Man City have got a lot of big games coming up. Obviously, we know they're still in the FA Cup. After they beat Newcastle on Saturday, they've got Carabao Cup to come. They've got Real Madrid in the Champions League this week, which is Wednesday night. And there's also some very big games in the Champions League tomorrow night. There's a lot of press conferences going on today. Newcastle, Barcelona, Galatasaray v Liverpool, for instance, and Spurs playing Atletico Madrid. There's a lot going on. Yeah, I know, who would have thought it. Spurs still in the Champions League.
They're in Europe, but they're not in anything else.
A lot of managers talking about those, which are tomorrow night. We'll be back to talk about
those. We'll come back in tomorrow and talk about that. Tottenham in Europe and in danger of relegation. Much so. Samara Gill next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Fuel, if you think it's over. Fairly soon there won't be any fuel. They are predicting chaos on the forecourts fairly soon because oil is going to go through the roof price rise, 150 quid a barrel, almost a world record. So that means petrol prices will soar, will rocket, and also petrol will become far less available. So stand by for petrol forecourt chaos ahead. Let me know what you think about what's been going on in the Middle East and indeed our government, our Prime Minister's response to it. As all the lefty commentators discussed, you know, he's kept us out of the war for, you know, strategic reasons, Keir Starmer. It could be his finest hour. I think he did it because we didn't need to be involved. It wasn't our... Yeah, none of them discussing why he kept us out of this war, and that's because he's terrified about losing the Muslim vote, which is a bloody joke anyway, because he's already lost it to the Green Party. So the Gorton and Denton by-election dictating foreign policy, what do you think about that? 0344 499 1000. Let's not upset the Iranians because they're Muslims, and if we upset the Iranians, then maybe the Muslims here might be upset with us and then they won't vote for us. Never mind all those lives being lost. We've got domestic politics to worry about. 0344 499 1000. When is HMS Dragon ever going to get out of Portsmouth Harbour? Why on earth is the Chief of Defence Staff, Sir Richard Knighton, saying he's immensely proud, enormously proud of the Navy, working night and day to get this boat ready? I'm not having a go at the naval ratings, the rankings, but, you know, this is not the time for pride, Sir Richard. This is the time for national shame, national embarrassment. That ship, HMS Dragon, was ordered out of port this time last week by the Prime Minister. It's still there, being readied. We're hearing they're only working 9 to 5 to get it ready. The sense of urgency or lack thereof is off the scale. Also, our major aircraft carrier, the Prince of Wales, was going to go. It was announced over the weekend that Starmer, now desperate to be America's best friend, well, you will send our aircraft carrier out to help. Oh, Donald Trump saying, yeah, it doesn't matter now, man. Forget about it. You know, we've already won this war. We don't need allies who come in after we've won. So Starmer completely blew it. And guess what? He's now cancelled the idea of sending the aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean because Donald Trump doesn't want it anyway. And we learned that if it had have gone, it would have been escorted by French warships because we haven't got any. Give me your comments on where you think this Prime Minister and this government has left this country in terms of our defence. And in terms of America helping our defence, unlikely now that he refused to let Trump use his airstrips, air bases to launch strikes on Iran. What do you think about that? 0344 499 1000. And what is the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, doing about the threat that hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Iranian migrants who are going to flee the country, already are fleeing the country. Dozens have already turned up on the beaches of northern France and around Calais to get on a small boat to come here. What is the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, doing about the prospect that soon those dozens may turn into thousands and then hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions? What is she doing about this? Where are the deterrents to stop them? 0344 499 1000. Get on the phone. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. Or you can send me a WhatsApp voice note on the same number, 0344 499 1000. I'll talk to you. I'll play some of your messages, and I'll read some of them out as well. Got lots to get through. Now, in the meantime, later on in the show, also we'll be joined by Kinsey Schofield to get the latest from Planet Royal. But first off, let's talk to Talk reporter Samara Gill. Hi, Samara.
Hi, Kev. That was hilarious thinking about, is this Starmer's moment? Is this defining moment? No, this is amateur hour in what seems like Britain's 11th hour. And when you talk about the asylum...
It's our darkest hour. It's our most shameful hour.
It is. And when you talk about Shabana Mahmood's plans, I've actually got an interview coming up, which I will give to your show on Drive Time if you want it, with an Iranian asylum seeker.
Yeah,
we're doing deals on air now.
Yeah. How much do you want for it?
We'll talk numbers after. But I spoke to an Iranian asylum seeker. Interesting. It's an interesting predicament for our country to be in right now. I think we're full up, and I think we should say sorry. We don't know who you guys are. You come from a very hostile regime. Even the guy that I spoke to witnessed horrible scenes of torture. His cousin being, hung from a crane, etc. Just terrible stuff. So it's a big question. I think it's more dubious than we think.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think the Home Secretary, obviously she's the same as the rest of the government, completely, utterly unprepared or not prepared to do anything to prepare for this disaster. The Home Secretary, as far as I can work out, doing nothing about the grim prospect of maybe thousands and thousands of Iranians making their way to the northern French beaches. We already know that there were dozens there over the weekend, so they've already made it from Tehran, and they say 9 million Iranians are trying to get out of their war-torn country, and a lot of them will make their way to the promised land, as in Britain. So they will become our new migrant crisis within a migrant crisis, the Iranian situation. What is our Home Secretary doing about it? Oh, I know. Nothing. It's pathetic, isn't it?
It's totally pathetic. And also, I got such an insight because I spoke to quite a few of these Iranian asylum seekers. Granted, some of them are proper sort of political journalists, what you might be in America if Starmer decides to crack down on you, Kev. Actually seeking asylum. But they were saying that they're using Iran as a sort of scapegoat. So there's a lot of Afghani and Pakistani and Iraqi asylum seekers, illegal migrants that are saying that they're from Iran in order to gain entry. So the whole system is totally cooked, and Shabana's not ready, as you said. She doesn't know how to deal with this. There's no systems in place. You don't even take biometrics. So what are we going to do?
I know. I was just talking about the case of a Bangladeshi migrant who came here in 1998. Was pretty swiftly refused leave to stay. All of his asylum applications have failed, and he just keeps appealing. And he's still here 28 years later. And this is the story. Last week, 816 migrants came across the channel illegally. They will cost us £320 million over the next year, £40,000 each. And every last one of them will be well nigh impossible to get out of the country because she has all these crackdowns. She doesn't have, one crackdown should be, arrive here illegally on a small boat and you don't get to stay. End of. No asylum application. You have negated your right to that. Bugger off. You're going back to your home country. She doesn't do that. But what she should at least do, once they do get here, we put them into hotels or military bases and give them free food, free doctors, free lawyers, free dentists, free everything, 50 quid a week benefits and all that. What she should do is say, look, when you apply to be granted asylum and you're not granted that, where you are refused, okay, you can have one appeal. And if that appeal fails, you're out of here. But the system we have now is getting declined doesn't really mean much because you just appeal and then you stay. So you get these migrants who are in the immigration tribunal being told, no, your application is refused, and they just shrug their shoulders. Oh, well, better luck next time. And they'll just appeal. This guy from Bangladesh has been appealing since 2012, and his last appeal was last week. It's ridiculous.
The whole system needs overhaul, and what I really get annoyed about is that the Labour government's actually been giving us misinformation when it comes to their deportations. Shabana Mahmood says that she deported, I think it's between 50 and 60,000 people. Well, actually, if you look into the data, which I was today, of the people that arrived on by illegal means under Keir Starmer's prime ministership, she's only actually deported 2,700. So when you actually look into the almost, I'm sorry to say, but fake news that Labour's been spewing out about how many deportations they've been doing, it's not accurate. These are people, you know, maybe she's going and raiding some kebab shops and Turkish barbers and finding people there, but she's not actually cutting the issue where it's really stemming from at this point.
Exactly right. Now, at the weekend, you were at these protests. I was listening to it earlier. You got people saying, why are you protesting against our war or the West's war on Iran? People say, because I don't like bombing. I mean, you know, what happened to the remaining brain cells that these people used to have? Well, look, you set up what it is that you were doing and who it was that you were talking to, because we're going to play some clips. What is the first one about?
Well, I made the brave journey down to Gloucestershire, and I stayed with Alex Phillips.
That is brave. We salute you.
Yeah, you really should. No, I'm joking. It was wonderful. But look, there are B-1 bombers that are currently in the RAF Fairford, which is a base that's part of a US deployment sort of scheme, and it's linked to the escalating conflict in Iran. So what they're doing is using our air bases in order to fuel and load back up before they go to Iran, because it's got a specifically very long runway and it can take these massive bombers. All right. I mean, essentially, we're doing basically the bare minimum we can do as a country, as the UK right now. Anyway, there were protests, of course. No Iranians in sight, by the way. Just a bunch of Corbynista Lib Dem pensioners outside the airbase.
Lib Dem pensioners.
Let's have a look at what they had to say. Hello, what's your reasoning to be here today?
Because the US should not be trying to start another war for regime change in the Middle East when their record is so atrocious in this area.
Great. And you?
I'm here because I don't like bombing and I don't like indiscriminate killing.
Yeah, well, I'm from the Revolutionary Communist Party in Gloucester, and we're basically here to show solidarity with anti-imperialist protests because, you know, we have seen 30 years of America basically dominating the world, and as, you know, things get worse for America, they're trying to get more aggressive.
The Ayatollah, is he a good or bad person?
He's a bad person as far as I'm concerned.
Are you happy he's dead?
I don't mind that he's been dead. He's one person. That's a terrible thing, but I'm saying that. I'm admitting it.
What do you think about the death of the Ayatollah?
Well, I mean, the Americans are trying to negotiate, and, you know, they're not going to be able to because they've killed everyone who's come to the negotiating table. So in that way, it's bad. The Iranian state is very repressive, sure, but, you know, the real danger to the world, the real danger to people is America, is, you know, American bombs. You know, you can look at Libya, Palestine, Afghanistan, Iraq, you know, right before. You know, these are the real results of imperialism.
Keir Starmer, what do we think?
Keir Starmer is a waste of space, frankly. He couldn't run the DPP. How's he going to run the entire country? The Ayatollah may well have been a bad person, but killing him is no better. Two wrongs do not make a right, and the means cannot be used to justify the end.
What's he got in his head there? A tea towel or something? Why does he want to look like Yasser Arafat? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they were all cosplaying Yasser Arafat. It was really funny. It was just like, okay, is that what you get up to in your old age? I mean, the thing is, I really think that when you look into that video, and you can watch a longer version on YouTube, and I won't go to that second clip where we actually showed that there were two British patriots who were trying to cheer on the American military.
Why don't we? Let's go to that, shall we?
Well, let's go to some good news. Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's have a look at the Patriots. Take it away, Patriots.
So what brings you here today? There's a small counter-protest. Hello. So we didn't really have any time to arrange anything. Like, we just come, we see it in the newspaper, and we come down here to stand against this for the military base, really. You know, unfortunately, there is a war going on. We don't like people being killed or anything. But at the same time, those people should be free. And we just don't think they should be up here being a pain like they are, and we're just being patriots and showing support, which the soldiers have actually loved. They've come by and they've put their thumbs up. And I just don't want them to feel unwelcomed by. So they're giving us a thumbs up as they come out, but unfortunately a big lack of support from that side at the moment. They've been very aggressive, swearing at them, and was you hear them when they were swearing at them?
Yeah, they were.
And then they bring these signs into the road. They've tried just about to undo our flags over there, and the police.
They tried to undo the flags.
Yeah,
there's an anti-Semitic element to this all, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing a lot of kefirs, scarves, and people saying Benjamin Netanyahu should be in jail.
Oh God, I just fed up with them. I think they just are an absolute nuisance, if I'm honest.
Yeah. What brings you here today?
Literally to promote them, support them. You know, we all have opinions, which, you know, we try to respect each other, even though some people find that hard. But we are literally here today to support the military.
Yeah.
And what they do, and they're looking after us.
Thoughts on Keir Starmer?
Oh, don't go there.
He's definitely not no Winston Churchill, is he?
Yes, famous words of Trump now,
Yeah, interesting, Samara, that those two opposing factions, the Guardian readers and those patriots there, are united on one issue.
Yeah.
Their contempt, their hatred for Keir Starmer. That is interesting. And those houses just in the background, is that one of those is Alex Phillips's, yeah?
Yeah, just that that tunnel under the...
She actually lives in a house at the end of the runway. What's it called? RAF Fairford, is that right?
RAF Fairford, yeah. No, as I said earlier, we were sneaking around trying to find her next husband or her future husband from the US military.
What about that guy with a tea towel on his head? She could marry him, maybe, yeah?
She was having a hard time dealing with them. She couldn't stop laughing at the protest.
And the tea towel head guy.
Yes.
Why has he got that on? Mate, you're from Wiltshire.
Yeah. She started
Not
joining
Baghdad.
Well, that's the key issue there. None of those people have lived a day under the oppressive regime of the Ayatollah. And having been just the day before outside the Iranian embassy, where they were praising Benjamin Netanyahu, the Iranians were also praising Trump for what he has done to liberate them from their extremist Islamist regime. You can see who's on the right side of history here. And also, those two protests, they affirm what you've been saying all along, Kev. Starmer is just trying to pick up votes. He knows that, first of all, those pro-Gaza people are not going to vote for him. He knows that definitely those patriots are not going to vote for him. So he's scrimmaging around, trying to gain support by not sort of going anywhere politically and placing himself directly in the middle and upsetting just about absolutely every voter. So, I mean, this probably is the end in terms of any scrimmage of support that he's got. But every protest I go to, I'm yet to find one person that likes Keir Starmer and has support for him. Left, right, in between, it's nowhere.
Yeah, Mrs. Starmer, we've been doing a national survey to find anyone who likes your husband. Do you like it? Do you like him? No, she's not in there either. So there you go. I've been talking about the media coverage over the weekend of Starmer's some saying almost statesman-like decision not to get Britain involved in this conflict. Well, we were never essentially going to be involved. Some people, some pundits and commentators and alleged experts are suggesting this might be Starmer's finest hour. He's just stumbled into this position because he got ordered not to get involved by Ed Miliband, Crazy Ed, and the other lefties in the cabinet, Rachel Reeves, Yvette Cooper, Shabana Mahmood, all told him, no, we mustn't be involved. So this isn't any kind of decision. But in all this deliberation, oh, why did he do this? This is his finest hour. He's kept Britain out of the conflict. You know, clearly he didn't feel that this was our fight and it would be better to protect British citizens by not being involved, blah, blah, blah. None of them pointing out that the real reason he did this was because if he starts attacking Iran, he loses the Muslim vote. I mean, he's lost the Muslim vote anyway. But this is just him, his reticence about this war in the Middle East and sort of declaring war, if you like, on Iran is all to do with keeping or trying to court the Muslim vote, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's totally infantilized the Muslim vote because actually Muslims don't want this. This is what happens when you let the extreme element of their religion take over. And you can see that Iran's not just attacking Israel, they're attacking every other Middle Eastern country in that region. This isn't about Islam or the Muslim vote. And for many Islamic people, yes, there are absolutely people in support of the Ayatollah. I actually saw one the other day. But I think that Muslim people, majority of them know that the Ayatollah is a craven individual. And, you know, we are following Washington at this point. We're not leading. And you've got American bombers flying on British soil at that RAF base. And Keir Starmer just looks like a bystander in his country's own defense policy. It's really amateur stuff. And yes, because he got cold feet and he didn't know which direction to go, we are now on the back foot of this, and this cannot be good for British national security, the way that the country's going, and our own footing. I mean, when we need the US to protect us potentially, where are they going to be? I mean, we didn't support them. They're not going to forget this, Kev.
Well, President Trump said that. We will remember. And Tony Blair, who, of course, stoically supported the Americans in their hour of need during the Gulf War, saying that not supporting America, as Keir Starmer didn't, is a matter of British national security. Our defence, our protection is wrapped up, whether we like it or not, in our special relationship with America. We need America to defend this nation, to protect our citizens. And will they? Will they? When America needed us in its hour of need, could we use your air bases, please, to launch airstrikes on our enemy, Iran? Keir Starmer said, no, you can't, because we're pacifists here, and we've got the Muslim vote to worry about. He then later changed his mind a little bit with a limited permission to use our air bases, which Pete Hegseth turned into, we're going to use them all guns blazing. So the whole thing is a shambles, but we let America down in its hour of need. And as Tony Blair said, that means that this Prime Minister has let the people of this country down. We will not be protected potentially by the United States in our hour of need. That is a travesty.
I mean, he is actually managing party politics rather than sort of projecting strength abroad. And that's the situation we're in. Britain needs clarity, conviction on security, not this ridiculous triangulation that Starmer seems to be getting away with. And yeah, I mean, when you've even got Tony Blair saying that you're doing things wrong, you know that you've really gone far afoot. I mean, I think it's to do with two things. Yes, the Muslim vote, but also to do with his hatred for Trump and his deep mistrust in what Trump is trying to do and Trump's leadership. I think if Biden had done this, which knowing Biden, who knows? I mean, his auto pen might have signed something to send people to Iran or send at least jets to Iran. He probably would have been behind it. I think he's just making this all way too party political. And unfortunately, the British citizens are the people that suffer the most out of this. And that's the biggest travesty of all.
Yeah, totally right, Samara. Really good to to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time and your excellent report from down there in Gloucestershire. Is it Gloucestershire? RAF Fairford. End of the runway there, where Alex Phillips lives. But those people protesting, you know, wearing tea towels on their heads, saying, I don't like bombing. Yeah, I don't like a regime that kills 50,000 of its own innocent citizens. I don't like that very much. Maybe it isn't a bad idea to bomb a nation that does that, to stop that kind of atrocity. Let me know what you think. 03444991000. When is this Prime Minister going to defend this nation properly? What has he done? What has he done to the special relationship? He's blown it, has he? Should the King cancel his state visit to America because of all of this? Because Trump has disrespected our marvellous Prime Minister? Oh, how upset we all are about that. Donald Trump said nasty words about the fantastic Keir Starmer. As far as I'm concerned, the words that Donald said about Keir Starmer weren't nearly nasty enough. Keep it coming, Don. What do you think? Should the King cancel his state visit in April to America on the basis that the President has disrespected our lousy Prime Minister? 03444991000. And when is HMS Dragon ever going to set sail for Cuba? We're taking Cuba. Cyprus. Might as well go to Cuba. It doesn't really matter. It's not going anywhere. When is it going to set sail for Cuba? We're taking bets. Do you think it'll be this year? 03444991000. Get on the phone. Give me a call. Let's talk. It's good to talk on Talk. We'll take your calls next, and I will read some of your messages. So stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, get your notebooks out because this is going to be a bit complicated. What I'm going to do now is take 3 voice notes, a little comment perhaps. Then we're going to go to break. Then Kinsey Schofield's going to come on to discuss. There's lots of big royal news around this weekend, so we need Kinsey's take on that. And then we're going to take, after Kinsey, we're going to take your calls. 03444991000. I hope you wrote all of that down. So voice notes first. Here's Dan on America not being a special ally of Britain.
Hi, Kev, Dan from Southampton. Never been a Labour fan. Think Keir Starmer's a fool. But it's extremely disappointing to see how many British people are forgetting our history and pandering to this American nonsense, believing what Trump's saying about the fact they've always been there for us and that we've not supported them, conveniently forgetting how the Americans were the first people to make it popular to arrive late to wars. You know, look back to what happened. Pearl Harbor, we declared war on the Japanese before the Americans did, in support of America, expecting them to declare war on Nazi Germany in kind. They didn't, and they were never intended to. It took Hitler to make his biggest mistake, to declare war on the Americans before they got into the war. It's a myth. A special relationship is a myth. It's only a special relationship when it benefits the Americans. We need to wake up. They are not a special ally.
Yeah, we need to make them a special ally, though. That's the point, Dan. And our relationship with America has become far more important in modern history as time has progressed. Because of the Gulf War, because of what's happening now. We need America. You can like it or lump it, but it is a fact. They weren't much help to us either in the independence war back in the 18th century, were they? I mean, they're actually against us then. We should take that on board, right? Never mind the Second World War. What about the War of Independence? They were against us. No, this is ridiculous, all of this. Oh, they were lousy in the Second World War. They weren't very good in the First World War. Now is now, then was then. We need them now. That's a fact. Here's Kelvin on the Middle East getting richer with oil.
Good evening, Kevin. Miliband doesn't seem to think that drilling for oil and gas will lower our energy bills, this, that and the other. Well, you got to laugh, haven't you? Because look at the Middle East; they're really rich off it. We've got nothing. We've got it sitting there in the ground waiting. We could make a fortune off it, and I'll put the country right. And he's saying it won't help, but there's the evidence. The Middle East have got rich on oil and gas, and here's us. We're some paupers. Bye.
Yeah, and we're going to get even poorer. I don't know whether they're going to get richer because things are actually going to cost a lot of money. The price of a barrel of oil is at £1.50, $150. So that is almost unprecedented, almost a record, and it's rising for obvious reasons. So the price of petrol is about to soar. You're going to get forecourt chaos, you're going to get jams, long queues, all of that crap. So stand by, folks. It's going to get worse. Final voice note for now, anyway. This is Pete, again on the special relationship between Britain and America.
Good afternoon. There's only one way out of this: to save face now in the face of Trump, because he won't help us anymore after this, is for Starmer and his government to resign so we get a new government in, so we get some sort of trust back from the Americans. Starmer, old Feathers the Penguin, he hasn't got a clue, has he? In fact, he's not even as clever as that Feathers the Penguin character from Wallace and Gromit. What on earth is the man thinking? And now to have Blair ripping into him while he's burnt his bridges. He has no friends anywhere now, does he? Apart from these... actually, no, not even his voter demographic, because they've just dumped him for a much easier party to infiltrate, the Greens. Oh, well, resign today, Starmer. Take your government with you. It's the only way to save this country.
Yeah, Pete, you know, I like the thought, I like the sentiment, but they're not going to resign, are they? They're going to stay here until 2029, in all probability, which is a terrifying prospect. But you're right, the special relationship can be repaired as soon as we don't have Keir Starmer as our Prime Minister, or indeed Labour, probably. That's why I think the King must go on his state visit in April to try and repair the damage that Keir Starmer, the arguably irreparable damage that the Prime Minister has done to our special relationship with America. The King can perhaps go some way towards solving that problem. So he must go. But do you think he should go, or do you agree that he should cancel that state visit in April? 0344 499 1000. Get on the call, on the phone, let's talk. Good to talk on Talk. Let's go to break again, and when we come back we'll talk to Kinsey Schofield about Harry, Meghan, Beatrice, Eugenie, Fergie, Andy, all of them. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, let's go straight over to Los Angeles to talk to the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. She is the great Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Hi, Kev. Good to see you.
Always good to see you. What a weekend it's been on the royal front. Seems to be eventful on in all areas at the moment. But Meghan Markle's had a hell of a week. She is split from her benefactor, Netflix, and will take control of her as ever range of domestic products, that strange business, because she says that Netflix were too cautious about her plans to take as ever international, to take it global. So selling jam and dried flowers and candles and wine for astronomically high prices. She wants to, having conquered America allegedly, she wants to conquer the world. And strangely, Netflix weren't that keen. I think my take on this, my interpretation is that Netflix has decided there's no money in this business whatsoever. Not only do we not want to go global, we don't want to particularly stay domestic with this. It's a waste of time. So she, of course, says it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's time for me to take control and we can all do it. I can do it on my own. And thank God we don't have cautious Netflix holding us back anymore. Magnificent. This isn't going to last much longer, is it, as ever?
There are college courses where Netflix is studied as one of the most significant, recognizable brands globally. Globally, Netflix is a global brand. Like, compared to Coca-Cola, like how interesting that this is a company that people laughed at because we all assumed that Blockbuster Video would be there forever. And Netflix has become not just a streaming platform, but its own production company creating original content. If anyone knows the blueprint for creating a sustainable brand, it's Netflix. If anyone knows the blueprint for going global, it's Netflix. Netflix is one of the most powerful brands in the entire world. And they came out of nowhere. They had naysayers left and right. It is Netflix. The reason Meghan Markle has lost this opportunity is because Meghan Markle has been in control this entire time, and she's fumble after fumble after fumble. And Netflix has said, you're not fun to collaborate with. You don't know what the hell you're doing. What the heck are these wickless candles? Get out of here. You're not worth the trouble.
Yeah, and you know, going global, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever, Kinsey, apart from Meghan's hyperbolic statements, that as ever has been in any way any kind of success. The indications are it's been a disaster, but we don't know the true truth of that. But there was this amazing story at Christmas when she'd stocked up the warehouses ready for oodles of festive sales, that in fact the warehouses ended up with having 572,000 unsold items on the shelf. So the indications are that this business, unsurprisingly, is not a great success. Why would it be? Who the hell wants to spend $64 on a candle without a wick? Who wants to spend, you know, $30 on a bottle of wine that you can get in your local grocery store right away for about $7, and so on and so forth? So it's not surprising, in my view, that it hasn't worked. It seems to me that for Netflix, the final straw. And by the way, Netflix, in its own outlets, did put some as ever products on display. None of them got sold.
Oh, really? I heard that they didn't put them, that they did not include them in Netflix House. And both venues did not include Meghan Markle's products, which should have been our first omen.
Well, either way, they weren't getting sold, and I suspect that when Meghan said, "Hey,
they're not selling. We know they're not selling at Godmother's. We know that they're not selling at Soho House.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't sell at Godmother's, the store where they were on sale in Montecito, or at Soho House around America where they were on sale as well. So they didn't sell. My instinct is, just speculation, that when she said to Netflix, let's go global, that Netflix said, we don't even want to continue going domestic with you. We certainly don't want to go global. Hence this sudden parting of the way.
Well, it's also the anniversary of With Love Meghan coming out, so this might have been a contractual parting of ways, because it's around this time last year that we were getting a new podcast, a new TV show, and they were kicking off her product launch, which was all very messy to begin with. Who releases a show without having tangible products you can purchase right there, ready to go? I mean, they shouldn't have released the show at all until the products were available for sale. All of it was messy. But there's this great article in Page Six where Eric Schiffer, who's the chairman of Reputational Management Consultants, said that this was the kiss of death, this parting of ways when it comes to the brand, that, you know, he called it celebrity brand suicide in a cashmere apron. And he said that Hollywood buyers should question whether Meghan has a real audience. In network land, he said, repeated breakdowns leave a repulsive scent. She now carries the scent of high maintenance disappointment, and that is rat poison when executives are already gun shy. And he didn't say that it will necessarily close all doors for Meghan in the future, but he said it definitely hurts her leverage. And I love this quote. He said, if I were advising them, I'd amputate the empire fantasy and build one excellent repeat purchase business that doesn't need royal smoke machines. He said they have to get they have to get the out-of-touch celebrity elitism bubble and make something people want more than they want to mock. But Meghan is obsessed with keeping up with the Joneses. She's obsessed with being compared to Gwyneth Paltrow. She wants you to know she's friends with Oprah. And that's not her audience. That is not realistically somebody that's a fan of Meghan Markle.
And also Ted Sarandos, the chief executive of Netflix, obviously a brilliant man, but you know, I was able to help him out through the months that you and I have been discussing this. I think he was mesmerized by the fact that that Meghan Markle on social media, YouTube, can generate huge numbers. I mean, there's no doubt people are fascinated with her. And millions of people tune in to watch her Instagram posts, to watch stuff about her on YouTube. You know, she is a figure of great interest around the world. Ted Sarandos believing that surely that can be converted into money. The problem is, she is not popular on a global scale. She is unpopular on a global scale. So name recognition, if that name is unpopular, does not add up to income. It does not generate income. And I think that's what Netflix have found out, that for all the millions of people who tune in to watch every single word on this woman, they wouldn't go out and buy a product based on her name in a month of Sundays. Ted Sarandos and Netflix finding that out painfully over the years.
Yeah, very expensive lesson that influence is not the same as infamy. The people that watch content around Meghan Markle it's a morbid curiosity. They're watching the train wreck. They don't understand why she's making such poor decisions, why she's been given this platform. And on International Women's Day, like the Princess of Wales, instead of showcasing some of the women she met in Jordan that, you know, Rupert Bell just said this to me. He was like, she was just in Jordan. She didn't meet any impressive women in Jordan. The Princess of Wales posts all of these women she wants to highlight through her philanthropy. And there's Meghan Markle posting another picture of her and Lily. You know, it's all me. There's no substance. And people are just fascinated by her poor decisions and how self-obsessed she is. She, you know, her complete lack of, you know, awareness of what's going on. The illusion. It's fascinating.
And a lack of self-awareness. I mean, I think that she thinks she's a much-loved character around the world. She is not, and that's why I suspect As Ever isn't making any money, because it's a celebrity brand. If you're a popular celebrity and you put out a bottle of rosé, you'll find you make a lot of money. Ask Kylie Minogue, ask Dolly Parton and Brad Pitt. They've all made lots of money out of wine, celebrity branded wine. She hasn't made a penny. It's because people don't particularly like her. So that isn't working out. And then we hear, Kenzie, that after their bizarre pretend royal tours to Nigeria, Colombia, and just recently, a couple of weeks ago, thank God, just before the war broke out in the Middle East, the gruesome
You say thank God. You say thank God.
Well,
some of us go, oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it would have been. But look, thank God they got out in time. They went to Jordan irresponsibly, unaware of what the hell was going on in that region. They got out just in time. 2-day tour of Jordan, pretend royal tour. Now they're going on another one, a pretend royal tour of Australia. What can be done to dissuade this bizarre couple from these weird pretend royal tours? No one wants them to do them. Why do they do them? They're just pretending to be the king and the queen or something. It's very odd.
And this is another great example of their delusion. You know, their previous Australian tour took place in 2018. This was about 18 months before they quit their jobs as working members of the British royal family, and they generated enormous public interest, significant media attention, to the point where Tom Bauer writes that Meghan Markle goes home and says to Harry, I'm the second coming of Diana. Look at me. I'm Diana 2.0. And this is when they feel like they have the leverage to start trying to negotiate with the British royal family after this Australia tour. And they start saying, we're not going to be in William and Princess Catherine's shadows. And the royal family goes, check yourself before you wreck yourself. But the problem is, they haven't nurtured this relationship with Australia. We haven't seen them engage with Australia very much since then. And their popularity has taken a huge, huge decline. If you look at some of the polling over there, they're at the bottom next to old Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew, sex predator, allegedly. So I don't think that they realize that they're likely not to get the reception that they want when they go over to Australia. Meghan Markle is expected to do a podcast when she's over there as a guest. She's expected to do some female pop-up event, something Gwyneth Paltrow had done. I think it's called Besties. It looks primarily commercial, and they make no secret of it. They talk about, their spokesperson has said they've got a lot of private events that they want to do over there. But yes, because they've got to have that extension of the British royal family, we will see some philanthropy because they're desperate to look like working royals. But I don't believe they're going to be received as well as they expect to be received in Australia.
I mean, they'll be received by most of us with complete confusion. What are you doing? What are you doing? What is the point of this? Just oh look, we're going to visit somewhere. Why? Who are you? You know, just
well, Meghan's astrologer lives over there, so Meghan, every once in a while you got to check in with your stargazer.
Well, I look forward to that. I wonder what the stargazer will tell her. You're screwed. Now, lastly, you and I discussed last Thursday when you were last on the show, Kinsey, that Sarah Ferguson, would definitely cash in because she's being offered a lot of money from various publishers to write her tell-all book, and it's her only remaining source of income. No one else is going to fund her anymore because she emerges from the Epstein files.
But this is...
Yeah,
Kev,
but just going to say
Kevin,
yeah.
She's missing a huge opportunity. Sell pictures of your feet online, Sarah Ferguson.
Yeah.
We already associate you with feet.
It's the toes they're all talking about. Yeah, well, yeah, she could sell pictures of her toes. Apparently, they're very attractive to some people. But the story going around at the weekend that she's faced mass rejection from publishers, old Fergie, these publishers are reticent to help her cash in on her nefarious role in the Epstein files. If I know the publishing business, I'm pretty doubtful about that. I think she'll find a publisher, and I don't think this book, Fergie, My Story, is long off being published.
Amen. Yeah. All you need is an American publisher, because you know as well as I do, America loves a good comeback story. We love turning villains into heroes. Look at the Clintons.
Good luck with Fergie.
The Clintons have made $20 million combined writing their books about their lives. And how many times have you heard them in depositions say, I don't remember? You don't remember. You've written 2 books. So clearly you
Well, don't you remember this?
Yeah.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And now he's going, I did not have sexual relations with Jeffrey Epstein's woman. Yeah, we didn't believe you the first time, Bill, and we certainly don't believe you the second time. It's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a joke. But I would listen to you read a phone book in that voice.
Yeah, my Bill Clinton. Well, Kenzie Schofield, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. Now you're going to die on me, aren't you? Kenzie, it's great to talk to you. We'll talk again on Thursday. In fact, we're going to do your podcast tomorrow, aren't we? That's Kenzie Schofield, host of Kenzie Schofield Unfiltered, on all the latest news with a gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan, and a bit of Fergie thrown in. Let's go to break. We'll take some calls. When we come back, I'll read some of your messages, so stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Your new evening host, Peter Cardwell, will be in the studio. So much better than that last loser who used to do it. So Peter will be in the studio in a little while to tell you what he's got lined up for you from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. In the meantime, a couple of messages before we go to the phones. This is from Richard in West Yorkshire. He said, no, the King should not cancel his meeting with Trump. If he did, it would look like he agreed with Starmer. Trump loves our royal family and everything that goes with it. That is our only hope of keeping any special relationship going after the Labour Party tried to ruin it. Well said, Richard. Couldn't agree more. Similar sentiments from Clive in Solihull. He says, no, King Charles's trip to America should not be cancelled. We need to build bridges with Donald, and Charlie Boy can do it. Anyway, everyone knows Starmer needs to go now, as in leave number 10 Downing Street forever. Couldn't agree more with you. Sarah Bird says, I blame the Tories. David Cameron got rid of our Navy ships. She's absolutely right. Cameron, May, Osborne, all that lot, they all started, they thought, there's no votes in military armament, spending money on defence. Let's just rely on America, NATO and all that. So that those Tory governments wound down our defence spending to a disgraceful level, and Starmer's made it even worse. There's no votes. They thought, we'll have peace in the world forever. We don't need any defence. Really, really smart people, weren't they? They could really see ahead. Absolute losers, absolute losers. Let's go to the phone and talk to Vince in West Sussex. Hi, Vince.
Hi, Kevin. Lovely to speak to you.
Good to speak to you.
One thing that's confusing me, which isn't difficult with this Labour government, but that thing in number 10 is always spouting on about international law.
Yes, that's true.
But he's not mentioned about Iran blocking the Straits of Hormuz, which a good portion of it is international waters.
Well, yeah, I mean, do you think that the mad mullahs, the Ayatollahs guys, sit around worrying about international law? We kind of hamstring ourselves by being obsessed with the legalities of every situation, particularly in this country, when you've got a sort of lunatic country like Iran just firing off missiles and drones left, right and centre without a care in the world. So us worrying about the legality of it is frankly pathetic.
Yeah, no, fully agree. But he hasn't mentioned it, which I find surprising. Yet with the Chagos Islands, it was international law, international law, international law. But the Iranians can do whatever they like, fire missiles, block off a ship in international waters in a shipping lane, and no mention of any international law.
Well, I'm afraid that, Vince, what we have is a Prime Minister who doesn't really want to badmouth Iran in any way at all, and wants to avoid this conflict as much as he can, which is not at all, but he wants to avoid it. And that's because he's worried about the Muslim vote, doesn't want to diss Iran, because he needs the Muslim vote back here in Britain, which is a joke, because he's already lost it to the Greens. This guy is just an all-round 360-degree loser. Vince, good to talk to you, mate. Got to move on. Vince in West Sussex. Great call. He's in the studio. It is Peter Cardwell, the new Nightman. He's good, this one, not like the last one. How you doing?
Kevin O'Sullivan 2.0.
Yeah.
Very much the...
You should be so unlucky.
very much the Godfather Part 2 version. Kevin, great to see you. How you doing? You all right?
I'm all right. What you got lined up,
We're
mate?
talking about the Al-Quds March, as you were, as well. We'll talk about troops being asked if they want to wear makeup, and also, is Iran actually all about China? We've got a really good guest from the Emirates who is going to talk us through all of that. We're also talking about Blair and finding out what